Chapter 1344 1344 Destruction of the Country 5. In front of the palace of the Sky Island dynasty, the sudden outbreak of the battle shocked everyone. The terrifying lightning covered an area of 1,000 meters. The entire area was completely covered by the lightning. Everyone from the Sky Island dynasty quickly retreated to the surroundings. Buzz. At this moment, the gray energy released by Wang Xian directly met the lightning prison released by the leader of the electric eel. It was a terrifying energy and a violent energy. When the two types of energy collided, a scene that stunned everyone appeared. The gray energy easily engulfed the thunder hell and attacked the leader of the electric eel without slowing down. At the same time, the gray area covered the entire electric eel tribe. Oh no. What kind of energy is this? The leader of the electric water eel trembled slightly when he saw his energy being destroyed. A hint of fear appeared in his eyes. You puny electric water eel tribe are courting death. Wang Xian stood there and stared coldly at the 400 to 500 beasts of the electric water eel tribe. His body trembled. The grayish energy covered the aquatic electric eel monsters at an even more terrifying speed. What? Oh no, the leader couldn't resist it. Run. Looking at the grayish energy that was right in front of them, the leader of the aquatic electric eel shook his body in fear, wanting to escape into the distance. However, even though the leader of the aquatic electric eel was covered in lightning, his entire body was completely frozen when the grayish energy swept past him. It was as if the river of history had directly pulled him into it. The corpse of the leader of the electric eel fell to the ground, and the gray energy once again swept towards the electric eel demon beast clan. No. The electric eel demon beasts saw their leader being killed in an instant, and they let out terrified roars. Even their leader could not withstand the attack. How could they possibly withstand it? Obviously they couldn't. Screams of terror rang out in the banquet hall where the Sky Island dynasty and the One Leaf Continent dynasty were getting married. How is this possible? The Water Electric Eel Demon Beast clan has close to 20 insightful Void Realm experts, and their leader is a level 3 insightful Void Realm expert. This is instant kill. His strength is comparable to our king. Since when did the Dragon Palace have such a terrifying expert? When the surrounding people saw this scene, their faces were filled with shock. Prince Jiang and Princess Yi sucked in a breath of cold air, and their bodies couldn't help but take a few steps back. One move to kill an expert of their Sky Island dynasty. One move to exterminate the entire aquatic electric eel demon beast clan. How terrifying! The king of the Sky Island Empire, who was walking over with murderous intent, froze when he saw this terrifying scene. The murderous intent on his body slowly dissipated. He widened his eyes and stared at Wang Xian in shock. He knew that he couldn't destroy the entire tribe of the electric eel demon beasts with one move. Hiss, too strong. The tens of thousands of people surrounding Wang Xian and the rest couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Their faces slowly turned ugly. Looking at the pile of corpses, no one from the Heaven Island Empire had expected that someone would dare to cause trouble on this day. The strength of the other party had also exceeded everyone's expectations. This master of the Dragon Palace, isn't it not a good idea to make a move at my son's engagement banquet with the One Leaf Continent Empire? Behind them, the king of the Heaven Island Empire took a deep breath. He stared at Wang Xian coldly and said with a gloomy face, the other party dared to kill them here at this moment. This meant that he was looking down on the entire Sky Island Empire. Even if the leader of the Dragon Palace was not weaker than him, he could not lose face. Furthermore, there was another powerhouse who was on the same level as him behind him. He was not afraid of 2 against 1. Even so, his tone was much weaker when faced with a powerhouse who was likely to be on the same level as him. Only those who are courting death will come out and have a conversation with us." Wang Xian looked at the king of the Sky Island Empire slowly and revealed a faint smile on his face. Looking at Wang Xian's calm and composed appearance, the king of the Sky Island frowned slightly. People without strength would definitely not be so calm. "We can have a conversation any time. At this moment, the people from the Dragon Palace are not giving face to our Sky Island Empire." The king of the Heaven Island stared at Wang Xian coldly. The two of them were about 500 meters away from each other. Everyone in the surroundings watched the conversation between the two powerhouses. No one dared to speak. Other than their voices, there was no other noise. Even their breathing was much weaker. "I wanted to wait, but your son and some people from the Heaven Island Empire are courting death. I can only not give you face." Wang Xian looked at him and replied indifferently. When the king of the Sky Island Empire heard Wang Xian's contemptuous words, his expression turned uglier and uglier. "Master of the Dragon Palace, speak your mind," he said coldly with a gloomy face. If not for the powerful strength that Wang Xian had displayed, he would have already made his move. Then, I shall speak my mind." Wang Xian smiled and took 2 steps forward slowly. He swept his gaze across the corpses on the ground and then looked at the Sea Fork demonic beasts on their right. When the Sea Fork demonic beasts saw Wang Xian's gaze, their eyes were filled with fear. "Half a year ago, my Dragon Palace discovered a deep-sea spiritual spring at the bottom of the sea. After that, you guys found it and forcefully seized 70% of it. I'm here to discuss compensation." Wang Xian looked at the king of the Sky Island dynasty and said calmly. He did not hide anything about the deep-sea spiritual spring. Deep-sea spiritual spring. When Wang Xian's voice rang out, a glint flashed across the eyes of the old man from the mainland dynasty who was standing in the middle of the stage. No wonder the Sky Island dynasty suddenly took out a huge amount of spiritual stones recently. The entire dynasty's strength has been greatly enhanced. So it's the deep-sea spiritual spring. He murmured with a burning look in his eyes. The deep-sea spiritual spring was a huge fortune, even if it was a small one. Compensation? Master of the Dragon Palace, spiritual artifacts and treasures. Those who are powerful will get them. You were weak in the beginning. We can redistribute the benefits in the future. The king of the Sky Island glanced at everyone in the Dragon Palace with a gloomy face. Haha, I'm not here to discuss compensation for you. I'm here to give you a choice. For the period of 4 months, you will have to pay 100 billion middle-grade spiritual stones every month. 4 months is equivalent to 400 billion middle-grade spiritual stones. Now, with 10 times the compensation, the matter of your Sky Island Empire taking out 4 trillion middle-grade spiritual stones is considered to be over. Otherwise, there is only one other option. Wang Xian stared at them and announced calmly. Chapter 1345. 1345 1,345 nations destroyed 6. What? Crazy. Is he fucking crazy? He actually wants our Sky Island dynasty to compensate him with 4 trillion middle-grade spirit stones. Is he here to cause trouble? 10 times the compensation? Who does he think he is? Deep-sea spirit spring? I didn't expect the royal family to actually find a deep-sea spirit spring. No wonder our Lord City, Lord's cultivation base, directly broke through after entering the palace. He dares to ask for 10 times the compensation from our Sky Island Empire. Is he trying to start a war with our Sky Island Empire? In the surroundings, the expressions of the experts and forces of the Sky Island Empire instantly turned gloomy when they heard Wang Xian's words. They stared at Wang Xian with some anger. The expression of the King of Sky Island changed drastically when he heard Wang Xian's words. Killing intent slowly appeared in his eyes. Master of the Dragon Palace, You are here to cause trouble, right? His eyes were filled with a bone-chilling coldness as he stared at Wang Xian. Deep Sea Spiritual Spring? King of Sky Island, I didn't expect you guys to obtain a deep sea spiritual spring. You guys are really lucky. At this moment, the old man from the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty on the stage moved and flew over. He stared at the King of Sky Island with a smile on his face. I'm just lucky. The Sky Island King's heart sank when he saw the old man staring at him with fervent eyes, and he squeezed out a smile. Haha, it's not just lucky, it's a blessing from the heavens. Sky Island King, can our two families mine the deep sea spiritual spring in the future? With our combined strength, no one can touch it. Today, our One-Leaf Continent Dynasty and the Sky Island Dynasty are going to marry. Why don't we cooperate more deeply and get closer? The old man from the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty looked at the Sky Island King with a smile and said with a smile. The Sky Island King looked at the old man and his expression changed slightly. He pondered for a moment and nodded. All right, in the future, our Sky Island Dynasty and the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty will mine the deep sea spiritual spring together. However, some people might not agree. As he spoke, he looked at Wang Xian slowly with an extremely cold gaze. Haha, King of the Sky Island, I'm not saying this, but with our two empires working together, no one within a radius of a few thousand kilometers is our match. No one dares to touch our treasures. The elder from the One-Leaf Continent Empire said with confidence and dominance. All right. The King of the Sky Island clenched his fists slightly. His eyes shone brightly. With the appearance of Wang Xian, the spiritual stones in the deep sea spiritual spring would definitely be redistributed in the future. Currently, they only took up 70%. If they were to form an alliance with the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty, they would lose 20% at most. Moreover, this could deepen the relationship between the two countries. Why not? As for the leader of the Dragon Palace in front of them, the King of the Sky Island would be afraid of him. However, with the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty joining forces, it was just as the old man had said. They had nothing to fear within a radius of thousands of kilometers. It seems like you guys are going to choose the second one. Wang Xian saw that the King of the Sky Island Dynasty did not put him in their eyes at all. He even reached an agreement with the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty. A faint sneer appeared on Wang Xian's face. Haha, choose. Then I will give you two choices as well. First, get out of here immediately and withdraw all your subordinates from the deep sea spiritual spring. Second, our Sky Island Dynasty will join forces with the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty to wipe out all the forces that dare to touch the deep sea spiritual spring. The King of Sky Island stared at Wang Xian with a strong expression as he spoke with a cold gaze. The King of Sky Island's words caused the expressions of all the harpoon demon beasts to change drastically. They looked extremely embarrassed. However, facing the alliance of the Sky Island Dynasty and the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty, they were completely helpless. HMPH, this bunch of darned fellows. They actually stained my body with blood. It's all right, it's all right. If this fellow doesn't know what's good for him, my father will teach him a lesson. Princess Yi and Prince Jiang glanced at Wang Xian and the rest with cold expressions. Their eyes were filled with killing intent. Haha, all right. I like these two choices. Coincidentally, the second choice I gave you is the same. At this moment, Wang Xian laughed out loud when he heard the King of the Sky Island's domineering words. Boom! Anyone who dares to offend the Dragon Palace shall die. I declare that the Sky Island Dynasty shall be destroyed. The One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty shall be destroyed. Kill! A voice filled with dignity and anger rang out. When the Sky Island Dynasty and the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty were about to join forces arrogantly, Wang Xian had already sentenced them to death. A terrifying aura was emitted from Wang Xian's body. The 5 elements grinding mill instantly flew out from his body. Roar! Just as Wang Xian finished a sentence, a dragon's roar came from his mouth. Transform into a dragon. Everything happened in an instant. Wang Xian transformed into a terrifying divine dragon that was 50 meters in size. The 5 elements millstone transformed into a huge object with a radius of 2 kilometers. A terrifying pressure was directed downwards. In an instant, the sky seemed to be taken over by Wang Xian and was under his control. Stupefied. Everyone around was stupefied, including the king of the Sky Island and the elder from the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty. Their bodies began to tremble when they felt the terrifying pressure in the sky. How is this possible? Oh my God, what kind of creature is this? How did the master of the Dragon Palace turn into such a terrifying existence? This terrifying pressure is definitely not something that a 4th-level, profound, void martial artist can release. Below them, everyone from the Sky Island Empire had terrified expressions on their faces. They raised their heads to look at the 50-meter-tall creature and the huge millstone that covered them, their bodies trembling. You are all guilty. Floating in the sky, looking at the terrified expressions on everyone's faces, the dragon's eyes were extremely cold. An even more terrifying pressure covered the ground below. Plop. What a terrifying pressure. I can't hold on any more. Plop, plop, plop. With a sentence of "You're all guilty," some of the people below, whose strength had not reached the profound void tier, felt as if the sky had collapsed. They could not help but directly kneel on the ground. This is impossible. Crown Prince Jiang and Princess Yi knelt on the ground with trembling bodies. They raised their heads and looked at the creature that seemed to have descended from the legends. They were extremely shocked. 5th level of the insightful void tier. It is definitely 5th level of the insightful void tier. No. The king of the Sky Island Empire felt the terrifying power coming from Wang Xian. His face was filled with cold sweat. He looked at Wang Xian's cold dragon eyes and his heart trembled. Die. At this moment, Wang Xian waved his dragon claw in the sky, and a gray dragon claw attacked the king of the Sky Island. No, let's have a good talk. We, the Sky Island Empire, are willing to submit. Seeing the gray dragon claw, the king of the Sky Island fled into the distance with a face full of fear. He shouted in horror. Buzz. However, Wang Xian did not hold back at all. The dragon claw that contained destruction and explosion clawed at the king of the Sky Island. With his strength of the 4th level of the see-through void tier, he had no ability to resist. Chapter 1346. 1346, Destruction 7. Boom! No. An explosion sounded in front of the palace of the Sky Island Dynasty. The king of the Sky Island screamed in horror. After the explosion ended, a corpse fell into a 3-meter deep pit. It lay there quietly, not moving at all. Everyone looked at the corpse. The screams from earlier echoed in their minds. The king was dead. Their king was dead. He was killed in one move. Looking at Wang Xian, who was floating in the air hundreds of meters above them, he looked down at them like a king. Everyone had a feeling of insignificance. From today onwards, there will be no more Sky Island Empire. Wang Xian stared at the ground below. The 5 elements millstone started to spin slowly, and beams of terrifying light shot downwards. Boom! 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 No, don't kill us. Our Sky Island Empire is willing to submit. Master of the Dragon Palace, we were wrong. Don't attack. It has nothing to do with us. It's the decision of the royal family of the Sky Island Empire. It has nothing to do with us. When everyone felt that Wang Xian's attack was about to land, the tens of thousands of people below had completely collapsed. They were all powerful factions in the Sky Island Empire. However, when they saw their king being killed in an instant, they were all extremely terrified. The other party had announced that he wanted to destroy the Sky Island Empire. With his terrifying strength, it was a piece of cake. Terrified pleas for mercy came from below. Wang Xian's eyes did not have the slightest fluctuation. War was cruel. The strong preyed on the weak. Just as the king of the Sky Island Empire and the elder of the One Leaf Continent Empire had said, if they worked together, any force that dared to lay their hands on the deep-sea spiritual spring would be annihilated. Wang Xian did not show any mercy either. If he was not strong, then he would be the one to die. Boom! A wave of attacks landed, and thousands of people died instantly. They were completely powerless to resist. Master of the Dragon Palace, let's talk this out. Our One Leaf Continent Empire is willing to withdraw from the competition for the deep sea spiritual spring. We will definitely not participate in it. Please don't kill us. The old man from the One Leaf Continent Empire shouted loudly as he looked at Wang Xian, who was as mighty as a god. His face was filled with despair. He was terrified, trembling, and in despair. He would never have thought that there was a terrifying existence at the 5th level of the see-through void tier in this region. 5th level of the see-through void tier. This was the 5th level of the see-through void tier. After I destroy the Heaven Island Empire, I will go and destroy your One Leaf Continent Empire, Wang Xian said with a cold look in his eyes. He would have to pay a heavy price for all his offenses. No. The old man's eyes were filled with fear. He roared and stared at Wang Xian, wanting to beg for mercy. Disciples of the Dragon Palace, listen up. Destroy the Heaven Island dynasty. If they dare to take over our resources, they will compensate us with the entire dynasty. Wang Xian shouted softly and ordered the members of the Dragon Palace. It's the Dragon King. Anyone who dares to offend us will die. The members of the Dragon Palace looked at their invincible Dragon King with excitement on their faces as they roared loudly. Attack! Even Prime Minister Gue roared loudly with a face full of emotions. The Dragon Palace had been enduring for a very long time over the past few months. Initially, they were prepared to fight back when the experts of the Dragon Palace achieved a breakthrough. Now that the Dragon King had returned, he had invincible power. Destroy the Sky Island dynasty. The members of the Dragon Palace roared and gave off violent auras. Bring them here. Prime Minister Gue stared coldly at Prince Jiang, Princess Yi, and the princes behind them. Then he ordered the members of the Dragon Palace behind him. Yes, Prime Minister Gue. The dozen or so golden swordfish moved and stared at Crown Prince Jiang, Princess Yi, and the other princes of the Sky Island dynasty with murderous intent. They moved and attacked with their swords. Oh no, run! Run! At this moment, Crown Prince Jiang, Princess Yi, and the other princes and princesses beside them were no longer as high and mighty as before. They were no longer as arrogant and despotic as before. Great-grandfather, save me, save me! Princess One Leaf looked at the golden swordfish that was attacking them and yelled at the old man beside her in fear. The old man from the One Leaf Continent dynasty turned his head and looked over with an ugly expression. He opened his mouth. Pay for your ignorance. At this moment, the voice of judgment came from the sky. The old man's body trembled, and his eyes were filled with despair. Today was the day of the marriage between the two countries. It was a joyous day, especially after learning about the deep-sea spiritual spring. His heart was filled with excitement. This was an opportunity. If he seized this opportunity, he would be able to bring a huge amount of resources to the One Leaf Continent dynasty. However, what he didn't expect was that what he brought wasn't an opportunity, but destruction. A terrifying energy swept over. He could sense that all the void interpretation realm experts from the Sky Island Empire had died under this attack. They didn't have the ability to resist at all. The Lord of the Dragon Palace in the sky didn't hold back either. Boom! 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 He could feel the terrifying energy destroying his body. He widened his eyes and wanted to resist. However, the chaotic energy was filled with destruction. Is a powerhouse at level 5 of the see-through realm really that strong? He widened his eyes and stared at Wang Xian's huge body. No, great-grandpa, great-grandpa. At the side, when Princess Yi saw her great-grandpa, a powerhouse at level 4 of the see-through realm, being killed, she shouted in horror. Pung! Pung, pung, pung. At this moment, a bone-piercing sword light landed on their bodies. Princess One Leaf, Crown Prince Jiang, and 4 or 5 other princes were knocked down by the powerful force. They raised their heads in fear and looked at the 7 or 8 figures in front of them. 7 girls, 1 prime minister turtle with a turtle shell. Offending the Dragon Empress, do you think your status is very honorable? Prime Minister Gue stared coldly at the One-Leaf Princess, Prince Jiang, and the other princes. We were wrong. We were wrong. Please let us go. Please. At this moment, Prince Jiang and the others looked at all of them in fear and shouted in fear. How can you offend the Dragon Queen? Cut her into pieces. Prime Minister Gue judged harshly. The Dragon King didn't need to deal with matters that offended the Dragon Queen. As the head butler of the Dragon Palace, he would punish this group of damnable things ruthlessly. Prime Minister Gue's words caused Prince Jiang, Princess Ye, and the other princes' faces to be filled with fear. Especially those princes who were staring at Guan Shuqing fervently, and Princess Ye who wanted hairpins and rings. Their bodies trembled violently. If can regret, they absolutely dare not be so insolent. Chapter 1347. 1347 was finished. Ah! Kill me, kill me. Please don't kill me, spare my life. In the palace of the Sky Island Dynasty, screams could be heard. Desperate screams and terrified pleas for mercy. Prince Jiang, Princess One Leaf, and the other princes begged for mercy in fear. Prime Minister Gue didn't hesitate at all. As the general manager of a force that wanted to dominate the universe, he had no mercy. There were only enemies and his own people. Crown Prince Jiang, Princess Yi, and the other princes were bound to be cruelly punished for their rudeness to the Dragon Queen. Streaks of sword light landed on their bodies, making them truly experience the pain of being cut into 1,000 pieces. Give them a taste of pain. San Lingxiu looked at the despairing pain and misery of the group and turned her face to the side. It's the Dragon Queen. The golden swordfish immediately waved their swords and cut them off. Leader Mu Zixin, lead the Heavenly Eye Arrow Division to sweep the other cities of the Sky Island Dynasty. Bring all the valuable things here. Kill anyone who dares to resist. Leader Ao Jian, lead the golden swordfish to contact the strange demons hiding around the Sky Island Dynasty. Follow Leader Mu Zixin and sweep the entire Sky Island Dynasty. Prime Minister Gue stood there and ordered the members of the Dragon Palace one by one as he watched the top experts of the Sky Island Dynasty being killed by the Dragon King. The Dragon Palace combat divisions immediately attacked the Sky Island Dynasty. Back then, the Sky Island Dynasty relied on its powerful strength to suppress the Dragon Palace and seize the deep-sea spiritual spring. Now that the Dragon Palace was powerful, it could return the favor tenfold. As a dynasty, it possessed a huge amount of wealth. They would destroy all the powerhouses of the Sky Island Dynasty and seize the wealth of the entire dynasty. Disciples of the Heavens, Eye Arrow Division, follow me. Golden Swordfish Tribe, follow me. The leaders of the Dragon Palace led their clansmen and subordinates and spread out in all directions. Wang Xian floated in the sky and watched the operation of the entire Dragon Palace quietly. Today, it could be considered a large-scale battle. Although it was all dependent on his invincible forces, it was still a battle for the entire Dragon Palace. For such a race battle, the battle between the countries was just the beginning. In the future, it would be the real battle. Wang Xian's figure moved and transformed into a human form. His gaze retreated downwards. At the beginning, there were still soldiers who rushed over to protect the emperor. However, as time passed, some of the soldiers and maids in the palace had already vaguely guessed what was happening here. One by one, they fled frantically outside. The members of the Dragon Palace did not kill these small figures. Instead, they entered the palaces of the dynasty and began to search for treasures. A dynasty, and its influence was not weaker than the Star Moon dynasty. The treasures in its treasury were definitely worth a lot. Plunder all the treasures in the palace of the Sky Island dynasty. The rest of the members of the Wang Immortal Dragon Palace ordered. Yes, without him saying anything, the members of the Dragon Palace started to move. Wang Xian landed on the ground and looked at the few girls with a smile on his face. He raised his head slightly. It seems like your strength has improved a lot in the past year. Guan Shuqing and the other girls looked at the arrogant Wang Xian and walked over with smiles on their faces. It's all right. It's just the 5th level of the void interpretation stage. Wang Xian said faintly, "Let's see if you can get it." The girls rolled their eyes at him. However, they were very happy that Wang Xian could possess such great strength. After we destroy the Heaven Island Empire this time, we will be able to obtain a huge amount of resources. Your strength will also be greatly enhanced. Wang Xian said to them with a smile on his face. It's fortunate that you're here, little Xian. Otherwise, those arrogant fellows from the Sky Island Empire would have to bully us for a long time. A few girls followed by his side with smiles on their faces. Prime Minister Gue, after cleaning up the Sky Island Empire, we will head to the One Leaf Mainland Empire and destroy them in one go. Wang Xian looked at Prime Minister Gue and said faintly, Dragon King, the One Leaf Mainland dynasty belongs to the Island dynasty as well. However, it is divided into more than 10 islands. Its strength is about double that of the Sky Island dynasty. If we head over now, we can only rely on your invincible power to wipe them out. However, this will cause the other cities to flee when they receive the news. We might as well absorb all the resources of the Sky Island dynasty first. Then, we can get ready to wipe them out in one go. Prime Minister Gue bent his body and suggested to Wang Xian, also, this way we can train our Dragon Palace for a real battle. At that time, even without your help, we will be able to destroy the One Leaf Mainland Kingdom. All right, we will do as you say. Wang Xian nodded slightly when he heard what Prime Minister Gue said. By destroying the Heaven Island Kingdom, just the corpses of these experts would be able to raise the strength of the entire Dragon Palace by 1 level. By then, Mao Zedong would be able to fight against experts at level 4 of the Void Interpretation Realm. Wang Xian wouldn't need to do anything in the battle to destroy the entire Dragon Palace. It's the Dragon King. I will send the strange demon clan to infiltrate the One Leaf Mainland dynasty in advance and search for information about them. When the time comes, we will take action and wipe them out in one go. Prime Minister Zhuai said with a cold gaze, any force that offended the Dragon Palace would have to pay a heavy price. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. With a move, he flew into the sky and looked around. As far as his eyes could see, the leaders of the combat divisions were leading their subordinates as they flew toward the cities. Although there were not many of them, they exuded an overwhelming battle intent. After today's battle, the Dragon Palace would rise up completely and stand tall on the Transcendence continent. Before long, the entire Transcendental continent will be ruled by the Dragon Palace. There is only one Dragon Clan in this world, and that is the Divine Dragon Clan. Wang Xian's eyes shone with a blinding light as he looked down at the Sky Island dynasty quietly. This was the dynasty that he had conquered, and it was also the first dynasty that he had conquered. At the bottom, Prime Minister Goe and a group of girls entered the treasury of the Sky Island dynasty and took in all the accumulated wealth of the 1,000 years of the Sky Island dynasty. 3 hours later, Ao Jian, Ao Yao, Ao Yiksha, and Ba Chi returned from their surroundings. Reporting to Dragon King, the 15 cities of the Heaven Island dynasty have been completely destroyed. All the treasures have been taken. All those who resist have been killed. Ba Chi bowed and reported to Wang Xian. Reporting to Dragon King, the entire palace has been cleaned up. Prime Minister Goe and the rest walked out from the various palaces in the palace and said excitedly, "Let's return to the Dragon Palace." Wang Xian smiled. Yes. Prime Minister Jiwai nodded and shouted, "All members of the Dragon Palace, return to the Dragon Palace!" Roar, roar. Excited roars were heard. All the members of the Dragon Palace flew into the sky and followed Wang Xian towards the Dragon Palace. Heaven Island dynasty was destroyed. Chapter 1348. 1348. The strength of the 1348 Dragon Palace had increased tremendously. In the sky, Wang Xian, Guan Shuqing, and the other girls were flying at the front. The rest of the members of the Dragon Palace stayed at the back and flew above the vast ocean. Pow! The group of people moved and dived into the water, flying towards the bottom of the ocean. Dragon King, the Dragon Palace, is located near the sea. As the number of people from the Dragon Phoenix dynasty increases, we often have to avoid the discovery of humans. Should we move the Dragon Palace to the side of the deep sea spiritual spring? The group of people soon arrived at the location of the deep sea spiritual spring and met up with the other members of the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Goe, who was at the side, asked Wang Xian, "Yes, it's time to move. It's no longer suitable to be placed near the sea." Wang Xian nodded his head. The Dragon Palace was no longer suitable to be placed near the sea for development. It was completely lacking in resources. At that time, it was because the Dragon Palace was too weak and had no choice but to be placed near the sea. Now, even in the flowing sea region, the Dragon Palace's strength was not considered weak. It was almost comparable to a small dynasty. After absorbing all the resources from the Sky Island dynasty, the Dragon Palace's strength would be greatly enhanced. Leaders, 9 flood dragons, follow me back and move the Dragon Palace here. Shuqing, Lingxiu, wait here for a while. Wang Xian said to them and transformed into his dragon form. He led Prime Minister Goe and the rest towards the Dragon Palace. With Wang Xian's full speed, he arrived at the Dragon Palace in about 10 minutes. Enter the Dragon Palace and teleport. Wang Xian floated in the sky. With a move, a terrifying force caused the entire Dragon Palace to rise. Wang Xian floated in the sky above the Dragon Palace. With a focused gaze, he immediately activated the ability of a level 3 Dragon Palace. Teleportation. Teleportation could be performed within a 500-kilometer radius of the sea pacifying needle in the Dragon Palace. When Wang Xian activated the teleportation ability of the Dragon Palace, the entire Dragon Palace was shrouded in azure seawater. A whirlpool slowly formed. It was as if a black hole had appeared in the sky above the Dragon Palace. Buzz! In an instant, the Dragon Palace appeared at the limit of teleportation. It was only about 100 kilometers away from the deep sea spiritual spring. Prime Minister Goe, guard the surroundings. Let's go. Teleportation could only be used once a month. He would have to teleport himself next. Hovering above the Dragon Palace, the 9 flood dragons, Prime Minister Goe, and the other leaders were stationed in all directions to prevent the demon beasts and fierce beasts from coming to disturb them. This place was basically close to the center of the flowing sea. If one wanted to step into a wider area, they had to go to a wider area. The vast sea was also the ocean of the vast area. The Dragon Palace can actually migrate. In less than 5 minutes, Zhang Fengying looked at the huge object flying over with a shocked face. It was like being on land and seeing a city that could fly. Xiaoxian has obtained a heaven-defying inheritance. This dragon palace has many uses. Let us show you around later. Sun Lingxiu looked at Zhang Fengying with a smile and said, "Thank you." Zhang Fengying looked at the more beautiful girls beside her and nodded with a smile. Although the girls were slightly displeased with the sudden appearance of another girl, they had no choice. The way of the king did not only have the world, but also beautiful girls. All they could do was to join hands and forbid the female fairies from approaching. However, they knew about Zhang Fengying's special situation. Boom! The dragon palace landed slowly, and Wang Xian was suspended in the air. Prime Minister Gui, bring all the spiritual stones and the metal materials of the void interpretation level over. Wang Xian stared at the dragon palace and said with a twinkle in his eyes, "It's the Dragon King." Prime Minister Gui nodded his head and flew over immediately with his interspatial rings. He looked at Wang Xian in astonishment and said, "Dragon King, you are trying to upgrade the level of the Dragon Palace." "That's right, the Dragon Palace can be upgraded now." Wang Xian nodded his head and took out one resource after another. These resources were obtained by Wang Xian from the people from the Cold Sect. The rest were obtained from the Heaven Island dynasty. To upgrade the Dragon Palace, one would need about 1 trillion middle-grade spirit stones and dozens of tons of metal materials of the void interpretation level. In addition, one would also need formations of the void interpretation level. Wang Xian had all these things. Boom! When the Dragon Palace landed at the bottom of the sea, it was perfectly compatible with the surrounding environment. To upgrade the Dragon Palace, 1 trillion middle-grade spirit stones and 10 formations of the void interpretation level. Wang Xian looked at the requirements for the upgrade and took out the items from his interspatial ring. "I found 10 void interpretation level formations. Do you want to merge them to upgrade the level of the Dragon Palace?" "I found 10 billion middle-grade spirit stones and 10 tons of void interpretation materials to upgrade the level of the Dragon King Palace." One by one, the materials were taken out and quickly absorbed by the Dragon Palace. One by one, the level of the buildings increased rapidly. Ding! All the buildings in the Dragon Palace have been upgraded to level 4. The level of the Dragon Palace has been upgraded. At this moment, at the bottom of the 30,000-meter deep sea, the 80-kilometer-wide Dragon Palace underwent another earth-shaking change. All the buildings were expanding at a terrifying speed. The ocean pacifying needle, which was more than 500 meters tall, slowly became 1,500 meters tall. The Dragon King's palace within a 10-kilometer radius had doubled in size. The huge dragon throne had grown to about 500 meters. Every corner of the Dragon Palace was growing rapidly, especially the spiritual energy that was gushing over like liquid. Dragon Palace, level 4. Dragon Lord Wang Xian, 5-elemental divine dragon of the first level of the void interpretation stage. Buildings. Dragon King's Palace. Level 4 increases the cultivation speed and recovery speed of the Dragon King by 48 times. Dragon Transformation Pool. Level 4. Absorbing dragon blood can give birth to a dragon seed. Dragon Blood. 143222. Dragon Gate. Level 4. A fish can only become a dragon if it leaps through the Dragon Gate. Effective against creatures below Dharma Idol. Ocean Pacifying Needle. Level 4. Pillar of the Dragon Palace. Set 1,000 kilometers of the Dragon Palace to be peaceful. Increase the combat strength of the members of the Dragon Palace by 400%. Dragon Cave. Level 4. With 12,000 dragon caves, the cultivation speed of the creatures in the Dragon Cave will be increased by 32 times. Dragon Field. Level 4. Practice martial arts in the Dragon Field. Increase comprehension by 16 times. Dragon Array. Level 4. Dragon Palace Array. concealment, defense, gathering of spiritual energy, teleportation, detection, spiritual items, ancestral tree, level, able to revive creatures below the longevity level, activate spiritual intelligence of creatures, increase the speed of fire attribute cultivators by 200%, attached, dragon transformation pool to nurture dragon species. Current dragon species: golden swordfish, thunder shrimp, demon monkey, strange demon, light thorn, hydra, dragon turtle, yiksha, clam girl, golden lobster. All members of the Dragon Palace, head to the dragon pool to increase your strength. Wang Xian's gaze was suspended above the Dragon Palace. Looking at the members of the Dragon Palace who were kneeling around him, he ordered loudly, "It's the Dragon King." All the members of the Dragon Palace were filled with excitement. The size of a level 4 Dragon Palace had increased from 80 kilometers to about 150 kilometers. It was even larger than the Sky Island Dynasty. Chapter 1349. 1349. If a level 4 Dragon Palace is so terrifying, how terrifying is a level 5 Dragon Palace? The gathering of the spiritual energy of a level 4 Dragon Palace and its various powerful abilities were all doubled. The spiritual energy in the Dragon King Palace had increased from 24 times to 48 times. The entire Dragon King Palace felt large mouthfuls of spiritual energy enter their bodies after just one breath. The spiritual energy was almost as dense as liquid. The spiritual energy in the Dragon Cave had also reached 32 times. One day of cultivation for the members of the Dragon Palace was equivalent to 32 days of cultivation in the outside world. With such a terrifying increase, it wouldn't take long for each member to break through, not to mention the Dragon Field, which had increased their comprehension by 16 times. It was easy for the members of the Dragon Palace to comprehend all kinds of supernatural powers. A level 5 Dragon Palace will turn into the country of dragons. The country of dragons will be able to float in the sky and move at will. It has many incredible abilities. Wang Xian thought of the higher level of the Dragon Palace and the higher level of cultivation. Above the void interpretation realm was the realm of longevity. The realm of longevity represented that a person had a lifespan of over 10,000 years. Longevity was also known as a demigod. At this level, a demigod needed to elevate his Dharma idol to the Dharma idol world, which was also known as the domain. For a demigod to break through to the true God level, he needed to establish the kingdom of God. When Wang Xian's strength reached the realm of longevity and the demigod level, there would be a huge transformation. That was because at that time he would be able to use the power of the Dragon Palace to unleash the Dragon Palace's domain. When he reached a higher realm, Wang Xian would bring the country of dragon with him. Once he fought, the country of dragon would crush him directly. The confrontation between gods was the confrontation between the country of dragon. That was the true destruction of an entire world with a single strike. Splash. The dragon pool that occupied an area of 50 kilometers was about 500 meters deep. There were divine dragons coiled on the 9 gigantic dragon pillars. The dragon head spat out rich dragon blood. Wang Xian had killed over 1,000 people from the Frost sect. There were more than 30 insightful emptiness realm experts. Among them, the sect master of the Frost sect was at level 4 of the insightful emptiness realm, and Bing Hanzi was at level 5 of the insightful emptiness realm, along with Long Xiaoyan and some other experts at level 3 of the insightful emptiness realm. Their corpses could be converted into huge amounts of dragon blood. In the Sky Island Empire, more than 70 insightful emptiness realm experts had been killed. These 70 experts included the corpses of the Water Electric Eel clan and the Harpoon clan. There were over 100 corpses of insightful emptiness realm experts, as well as those above the Type 7 realm. A large amount of dragon blood flowed into the dragon pool. There were over 3,000 members in the Dragon Palace, and it was a small number. However, they could obtain more resources. The evolution of the dragon pool allowed over 3,000 members of the Dragon Palace to enter the dragon pool. Dragon King, apart from these corpses, we have also obtained a large number of spiritual herbs and medicinal pills. All the herb gardens of the Heaven Island dynasty have been moved here. I have decided to open up a herb garden in the Dragon Palace. With the spiritual energy in the Dragon Palace, the growth rate of the spiritual herbs is dozens of times faster than the outside world. There are also some other treasures that need to be disposed of and exchanged for practical resources. Prime Minister Gue brought 2 civil officials over. He held a book in his hand and introduced it to Wang Xian. Sure, you can carry out some of the plans in the Dragon Palace. It will be tough on you for the next period of time. You should also go down and raise your cultivation level. After all the members of the Dragon Palace have raised their strength, attack the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty. Wang Xian nodded and gestured at him. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue nodded and jumped into the dragon pool. There were now 1,200 soldiers in the Demon War Department. There were now 400 soldiers in the Thunder Department. There were now 400 soldiers in the Dragon Defense Department. There were now 250 soldiers in the Dragon Spur Department. There were now 400 soldiers in the Heavenly Eye Arrow Department. There were now 100 soldiers in the Dolphin Clan. There were 300 soldiers in the Golden Swordfish of the Dragon Guards, 9 Flood Dragons, about 100 members of the 8-headed poison-making department. The special AO crab had tens of thousands of little AO crabs in its body, and the rest of the civil officials and members of the Dragon Palace. This was the strength of all the members of the Dragon Palace. The warriors of the Dragon Palace immersed themselves in the Dragon Pond and quickly absorbed the energy in the Dragon Pond. The leaders had reached the first rank of the Insightful Emptiness Realm, and Mao Zedong had reached the second rank of the Insightful Emptiness Realm. Due to their bloodline, each of them could fight against opponents of a higher level. As long as all of them reached the first level, the Dragon Palace would have 17 experts at the second level of the see-through. They could fight against 17 experts at the third level of the see-through. Mu Zedong could fight against those at the fourth level of the see-through. In addition, there would be some who were at the half-step to the see-through realm, who would advance to the see-through realm. The energy from the dragon blood alone is not enough. Wang Xian looked at the majestic dragon blood in the dragon pool below and took out one interspatial ring after another. These interspatial rings were filled with elixirs. The elixirs obtained from robbing the entire dynasty were extremely huge. Wang Xian swallowed all the elixirs into his stomach and turned them into dragon crystals. In just half an hour, he had gained an additional 500 million dragon crystals. This was also the reason why he did not consume some spiritual herbs. 500 million dragon crystals was still a long way from the 10 billion dragon crystals that he needed to level up. However, to the members of the Dragon Palace, it was definitely a huge amount of energy. Let's raise Ao Yao's strength a little more. Wang Xian waved his arm and a majestic wave of dragon crystals poured directly into Ao Yao. Out of 500 million dragon crystals, Ao Yao had used up 300 million. However, his level was on par with Mao Zedong. After coming out of the dragon pool, he was at level 3 of the see-through realm. As a thorny dragon, he could definitely assassinate a level 5 see-through realm expert. Wang Xian shared the remaining 200 million dragon crystals with all the members of the Dragon Palace. Boom, boom, boom. In the dragon pool, powerful energies erupted from time to time. The group of girls also entered the dragon pool to increase their strength. A day had passed. When the dragon blood in the dragon pool was depleted, the members of the Dragon Palace who had undergone a complete transformation stood at the edge of the dragon pool. "Greetings, Dragon King!" All the members of the Dragon Palace knelt down in unison and shouted loudly. Wang Xian swept his gaze across and revealed a satisfied expression on his face. Other than the group of leaders, there were a total of 10 newly added, insightful emptiness realm experts. Among them, 3 were from the strange demon clan. 1 was from the dolphin clan, and 2 were from the golden swordfish clan. Currently, the weakest one was at level 8 extraordinary. Very good. Next, you will demonstrate your strength by destroying the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty. All members of the Dragon Palace, follow me on the expedition. Wang Xian raised his head slightly and looked at all his subordinates as he shouted loudly. Understood. All the warriors of the Dragon Palace knelt on one knee and shouted loudly. They stood up immediately and stood up straight, exuding a powerful and imposing aura. Dragon Guard, stay here and patrol the surroundings of the Dragon Palace. The rest of the warriors follow the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue roared. Roar! Roar! With 9 roars, the 9 flood dragons flew into the Dragon King's palace and pulled up the huge dragon throne. A personal expedition. This was the first battle of the Dragon Palace. Chapter 1350. 1,350. Roar! A furious roar sounded from the bottom of the sea. In front of the Dragon Palace, 9 flood dragons were pulling huge dragon chairs and swaying their huge bodies. Prime Minister Gue was standing on the left. The clam girl was standing on the right with a huge cattail leaf fan. Behind them, Ao Qitian, who was holding the sea pacifying needle in his hand, was leading his clansmen. Beside him was Ao Qi, who held a thunder spear and a thunder hammer. Ao Jian, who held a golden longsword. Mao Zishan, who held a bow and arrow. Behind them were their tribesmen. These 3 groups were at the front, center, and left and right. And in the center of their tribesmen was a special group of tribesmen. There was a slender dolphin and a venomous snake with a ferocious face. Tang Yinxian and the other girls didn't follow them. A pink dolphin was the leader of the dolphin tribe. Ba Qi stood around the ferocious poisonous snakes. These were 2 special combat divisions. The strange demon tribe hid in the surrounding void. Let's go! A humanoid creature held a huge conch in his hand and blew the horn of war. Let's go! All the warriors of the Dragon Palace roared and flew forward aggressively. Their target was the One-Leaf Continent Empire. Tung, tung, tung. Wang Xian sat on the huge dragon throne, and a series of heart-rending voices sounded around them. They were very fast. Dragon King, this is the news that the strange demons found in the One-Leaf Continent Empire yesterday. Before the battle, Prime Minister Gue had ordered the strange demon clan to find out the information. This morning, all the information was sent over. There was a simple record of the power of the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty and the power of the cities. The One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty was different from the Sky Island Dynasty on an island. The territory of the One-Leaf Mainland Dynasty was 300 kilometers wide, which was 3 times the size of the Sky Island Dynasty. It was made up of small islands that looked like leaves from the sky, so it was called the One-Leaf Dynasty. The power of the One-Leaf Dynasty was 2 to 3 times that of the Sky Island Dynasty, and there were 3 rank 4 void interpretation realms. Now that one was killed, there were 2 more. There were 9 rank 3 void interpretation realms. The remaining 20 were no match for the Dragon Palace. The palace has gathered 50% of their dynasty's forces. We can attack all the cities at the same time according to the information obtained by the strange demon. Prime Minister Gue said to Wang Xian. All right, the newly promoted Dongshu members will lead their men to attack the cities. The rest will attack their imperial cities. Wang Xian nodded his head slowly. It's the Dragon King. I'll pass down the order now. Prime Minister Gue held the turtle shell and nodded his head. He then passed down the order. Whoosh! As they rushed out of the sea, a terrifying aura directly impacted the entire sky. 9 flood dragons were sprinting in front while a group of subordinates followed behind. Everyone, hurry up! We received news from the Sky Island Empire today that the Sky Island Empire was attacked by powerful demonic beasts. Countless experts were killed and injured. Let's go over and see if we can fish in troubled waters. I really didn't expect the Sky Island dynasty to be attacked so horribly. Didn't our dynasty enter into a marriage alliance with them 2 days ago? Why are they suddenly attacked? Yeah, the Sky Island dynasty isn't weak either. What demonic beast would dare to attack them? Who cares? They're not here to attack us. Their lives have nothing to do with us. Let's see if we can make a fortune. On an island of the One-Leaf Continent dynasty, a family flew towards the Sky Island dynasty with shining eyes. Not long ago, they received news that the Sky Island dynasty had suffered a terrifying attack, and all the experts had been killed. The entire country was in chaos. This surprised them, and their eyes flickered. They immediately led their family members to the Sky Island dynasty. They could fish in troubled waters. Even if they couldn't get some treasures, they could control some beautiful women to sell them. Their family had started from selling slaves in the past. A group of more than 50 people flew out of the island with excited faces and flew forward. At the front were 3 half-step void interpretation experts. My God, look ahead, that's... Suddenly, the 3 half-step void interpretation experts in front who were conversing suddenly felt a terrifying force rushing over from the front. They looked over, their faces filled with fear. What was that? 9 enormous creatures that were 30 meters long, flapping their not-so-big wings, pulled a golden throne. That golden throne was at least a few hundred meters in size, and on it sat a human. A human sitting on such a huge throne looked a little out of place, but it didn't seem very strange. At a glance, it seemed like that human was the center. Behind the golden throne, about 3,000 creatures followed behind. They were strangely shaped and looked extremely ferocious. As they got closer, a terrifying aura charged towards them. What was even more shocking was that in the sky above the group of creatures, a terrifying dark cloud that covered an area of about 5,000 meters followed them. The dark cloud destroyed the city. They had come with ill intentions. Even if they were a few thousand meters away, they could still feel the destructive power of the other party. Return to the city, immediately return to the city. Quickly report to the city lord. The group of more than 50 people revealed a terrified expression. They opened their eyes wide and hurriedly shouted, flying toward the city on the small island. An expert is flying over. Alert, alert. They turned around and glanced at him. Seeing his terrifying speed, they shouted out in fear. The voice of a half-step void interpretation expert covered the entire small island. What is that? It's a group of powerful creatures. What are they doing here? Be careful, be alert, be alert. Dong, dong, dong. On the city wall of the island, when some soldiers saw the group of Dragon Palace coming with a terrifying pressure, they widened their eyes and shouted in fear. The sound of alert resounded throughout the island. Whoosh! An old man flew into the sky from the island lord's mansion and flew toward the north gate. When he saw 9 30-meter-long flood dragons pulling a throne and the terrifying creatures behind them, his face was filled with shock. His forehead was instantly covered in cold sweat, and he couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Oh my God! This. What faction are they from? Are they here to attack us? How terrifying! This is not something we can resist. As Wang Xian and the rest got closer, the extremely thick and heavy dark clouds arrived. The huge scales on the 9 creatures could be clearly seen. The soldiers on the city wall were trembling with fear in their eyes. Whoosh! 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 When the dark clouds covered the entire sky, a 10-meter-tall demon monkey with a level 3 ocean pacifying needle in his hand led 300 demon monkey subordinates and jumped down from the sky. The One-Leaf Continent's dynasty is about to be destroyed. Those who submit will live, and those who resist will die. His majestic voice covered the entire island. Meanwhile, the rest of the Dragon Palace's forces were pointing at the One-Leaf Continent's imperial city. Chapter 1351 1351 1351 The One-Leaf mainland dynasty will be destroyed. Those who submit will live, and those who resist will die. The demon monkey's roar resounded across the entire island. One-Leaf mainland dynasty, and the island was a city. 300 demon monkeys stood in front of the city wall. The strongest demon monkey, a rank 1 profound void tier demon monkey, was 10 meters tall. He stood in front and stared coldly at the city in front of him. Behind him, 300 demon monkeys stood behind him. Their violent auras charged forward. All of them grinned and raised their heads with ferocious expressions. In the sky, Wang Xian sat upright on the dragon throne. His gaze swept across the area below and continued to look forward. There were no fluctuations at all. 1 demon monkey at the see-through realm and 300 demon monkeys who had yet to reach the see-through realm. With such strength, it was more than enough to take down a city. With the bloodline of the divine dragon as the number of demon combat divisions in the Dragon Palace, each demon monkey had the ability to fight above their level. Now, the weakest rank 8 transcendents in the Dragon Palace could fight above their level and could fight against rank 9 transcendents. This was equivalent to the weakest rank 9 transcendents. It was enough to take down a city. What? The One-Leaf dynasty is going to be destroyed? Submit or die. On the city wall at the north gate of the island, the citizens of the One-Leaf dynasty glanced at the 300 devil monkeys in front of the city in fear. Then they looked at the sky. The group that gave off a terrifying aura flew towards the center of their dynasty. There were dark clouds in a 5-kilometer radius and 9 terrifying creatures that were 30 meters long. There was also a young man sitting on the throne. Everything was too shocking. City Lord, are we surrendering? A middle-aged man walked to the side of the island lord in the center of the city wall. He stared at the 300 or so black and violent creatures below with a face full of fear. The old man stood there, his expression constantly changing. His gaze was fixed on the 300 demon monkeys in front of him. That demon monkey at the front is at the first level of the insightful void tier. The rest have not reached the insightful void tier. Among the group of people who had issued the alarm earlier, one of the half-step insightful void tier old men stared at the group of demon monkeys with flickering eyes. What? There's only one insightful void tier? And it's at the first level of the insightful void tier? Some of the people around were slightly stunned when they heard his words, and they asked in surprise, "Yes, the treasure in my hand can detect the opponent's level." The old man looked at the stone plate in his hand, and his eyes flickered. Only one at the first level of the void interpretation, and 300 creatures that have yet to reach the void interpretation want our island to surrender. That group of people just now was very terrifying, but they only left behind this group of creatures, and they want to destroy us. On the city walls, the eyes of some experts flickered as their gazes landed on the Island Lord. "Island Lord, if we submit, the other party will definitely take all of our treasures. It's simply wishful thinking to think that they can take down our sky blue island just by relying on this group of people." That's right, the majority of their group of experts are flying towards the Imperial City, leaving behind only a few weaklings who want us to submit. They simply don't put us in their eyes. Some of the big families on the sky blue island said with cold expressions, this was their foundation. If they submitted, their family's treasures would definitely be plundered by the other party. Their 1,000-year foundation would be destroyed in an instant. How could they be willing to accept this? If it was that group of terrifying creatures from before, they would not hesitate to surrender. But just the ones in front of them. They were not convinced. They could totally defeat this group of beasts and temporarily move all the treasures of their clan to another place, waiting for the news from the imperial city. You want to make us submit? Relying on you bunch of beasts. You're too arrogant. Do you really think that our sky blue island is so easy to break through? Do you really think that relying on an expert at the first level of the profound void tier and a group of people who have not reached the profound void tier can make us submit? What fools! What a bunch of fools! The sky blue island lord sensed that the enormous strength had completely disappeared from his sight, and he stared at the 300 demon monkeys below with an extremely cold gaze. Those who resist die. The leader of the demon monkeys slightly exerted strength in his arm and tightly held the ocean-pacifying godly needle. The level 3 dragon palace-level ocean-pacifying godly needle could become 500 meters long and 5 to 6 meters wide. Kill! He roared, and his black hair stood up like needles. On the city wall, under everyone's gaze, the ocean-pacifying needle in Demon Monkey's hand grew bigger and bigger. Finally, a 500-meter-long ocean-pacifying needle appeared in front of the north gate. His 10-meter-tall body carried the ocean-pacifying needle and directly attacked the city gate in front of him. Boom! What was the concept of a 500-meter-tall ocean-pacifying needle? The city wall in front of him was close to 200 meters high. Such a city wall could be considered extremely lofty. However, in front of the 500-meter-tall ocean-pacifying needle, it was still not enough. On the city wall, under everyone's shocked gazes, the ocean-pacifying needle directly landed on the city wall. Boom! 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 It was as easy as crushing dried twigs. As easy as crushing dried twigs. The 200-meter-long city wall was like paper to the people of Sky Blue Island. Under the powerful attack of the ocean-pacifying needle, it collapsed. The first-level void interpretation formation was instantly broken. Kill! The ocean-pacifying needle landed, and the city was broken. Behind them, 300 berserk demon monkeys were emitting monstrous, demonic flames. Pitch-black dragon scales slowly covered their bodies. They held metal clubs and directly attacked the destroyed city. Roar! Anyone who resists will die. The demon monkey, holding the ocean-pacifying needle, roared, and the ocean-pacifying needle returned to 30 meters in size. Holding such a huge club, it directly attacked the island owner in the center of the city wall. What this? How is this possible? On the city wall of Sky Blue Island, everyone was stunned by the demon monkey staff. The indestructible city wall and the powerful protection of the array formation were instantly forced. Looking at the 30-meter-long golden staff in the hand of the level 1 void interpretation creature that carried terrifying demonic chi, everyone's hearts trembled. Damn it! Damn it! I completely underestimated the strength of this creature. What kind of weapon is the metal staff in his hand? How can it become bigger and smaller? The Sky Blue Island Lord's expression changed drastically as he looked at the demon monkey that was attacking him. With a wave of his arm, a sky blue staff appeared in his hand. With a light wave of his staff, a 1,000-meter-large wave directly charged towards the demon monkey. Boom! However, the ocean-pacifying needle directly smashed towards the huge wave that was descending from the sky. The powerful water energy immediately disappeared. The ocean-pacifying needle fixed the water energy. It could be said that the ocean-pacifying needle was the nemesis of water energy. The huge ocean-pacifying needle directly smashed toward the sky-blue island lord. The old man's face was filled with shock, and his eyes were filled with fear. Stomp through the city, impudent and unruly. This rod, I'll turn you into ashes. Chapter 1352. 1352 clouds, and rain fell. Boom! No, how is this possible? A loud sound came from the city wall of Sky Blue Island, accompanied by an old man's shocked voice. Hearing this familiar, terrified voice, all the experts of Sky Blue Island looked towards the center of the city wall. This, my God, how could it be? How could it be like this? One stick, just one stick, Lord Island owner couldn't even block one of the opponent's sticks. Everyone's faces were filled with shock. In the center of the city wall, their island owner held a staff tightly in both hands and knelt on the ground. The staff had been broken into two pieces. The golden ocean-pacifying needle landed on the top of his head, causing him to lose all life. One move, just one move, and the island master of Sky Blue Island was dead. One move, and he was reduced to ashes. Roar! At this moment, a violent roar woke everyone up, and they hurriedly looked around. One by one, the violent demon monkeys held metal sticks in their hands and flew up the city wall, killing everyone on the city wall. Block immediately. Some of the sergeants were terrified as they rushed towards the demon monkeys that were charging towards them. They slashed out with their blades. Pung! However, the moment this rank 9 extraordinary sergeants clashed with a demon monkey, the terrifying power caused his body to fly backwards. Kill! The expressions of some of the experts from the families changed as they charged towards the 300 demon monkeys. The 10,000 people on the city wall had a huge advantage against the 300 demon monkeys. Aha, not good. Their strength is so strong. They are at least rank 9 transcendent demon monkeys. Oh my God, we're finished. The island lord has been killed. Let's run. However, when everyone resisted the demon monkeys, they instantly felt the terrifying gap. There were at least 50 to 60 half-step void interpretation realm warriors with the lowest rank 9 battle strength. Furthermore, the island lord was already dead. What else could they use to fight? Kill! The rank 1 void interpretation realm demon monkey stood in front of the Sky Blue Island lord's corpse. It was a terrifying 10-meter tall figure. Its entire body was covered in pitch-black dragon scales. With a roar, its killing intent covered the entire island. I surrender. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. My lords, I surrender. Don't kill me. The demon monkey at the first level of the profound void tier was like a violent monster from the abyss, overlooking the entire land. Feeling its terrifying killing intent and powerful might, everyone on the Sky Blue Island was terrified. They were completely no match for it. The sounds of surrender and begging for mercy could be heard. However, the killing didn't stop, and so did the war. They had already been given a chance to choose. They chose to die. They wouldn't kill the ordinary citizens who weren't guarding the city. However, those who participated in the defense of the city wouldn't be spared. Soon, demon monkeys charged into the entire island one by one, plundering crazily. At the same time, the main battle team of the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian, sat proudly on the throne and stared ahead with an indifferent gaze. As the Dragon Palace battle team advanced, the demon monkeys, lightning prawns, and the others at the back started to scatter. Some of them landed in the cities below, while others flew towards the surrounding cities. Each team had a maximum of 300 people. The mission of each team was to destroy 3 cities quickly. 3 cities. This was a plan that Prime Minister Gui and the rest had prepared in advance. They wouldn't wait for them to react. The entire one-leaf continent dynasty had 15 islands and cities, and it was a huge imperial city. 15 islands and cities sent out a total of 1,500 Dragon Palace warriors and 7 insightful Emptiness Realm experts to attack. Dragon King, the main city of the One Leaf Continent dynasty, is right in front of us. There are 40 million people in the city, and their palace is in the center. When they arrived at the main island of the One Leaf Empire, there were still 1,500 soldiers in the entire expedition team. However, these 1,500 soldiers were all elites of the Dragon Palace. The leader of the Dragon Palace and the demon hidden in the void were all around them. The royal city, its aura is even more majestic than the current royal city of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Wang Xian looked at the huge city in front of him from afar. The city walls were 400 to 500 meters tall, and there were soldiers lined up neatly on top of the walls. Prosperous and powerful. Get ready for battle. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled as he spat out 4 words. Roar! Roar! The 9 flood dragons in front of him sensed the Dragon King's battle intent and roared at the sky in unison. As a flood dragon that could fight against a 3rd-level void interpretation realm expert, a dragon roar could be heard within a radius of 100 kilometers. What is the roar of a demonic beast? What roar? Which demonic beast or ferocious beast dares to step into our One Leaf Continent's imperial city? The sudden, terrifying voice did not cause the people of the One Leaf Continent to panic. On the city wall of the North Gate, the soldiers and generals scanned their surroundings, their eyes filled with a cold light. There! There are huge creatures flying towards us. Reporting to the general, there are powerful creatures invading. Get ready for battle. A bunch of suicidal things. Get ready for battle. The soldiers on the city wall of the North Gate were ready for battle. They looked at the sky and could vaguely see a few huge creatures flying towards them. From the sounds of the dragons, they could guess that they were at the profound void tier. However, this was not enough to make them panic. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 middle-aged men and old men in general armor appeared on the city wall within a few seconds. They looked towards the sky above the sea in the north. Not good. The intruders are not a few fierce beasts or demon beasts, but a powerful force. Immediately report to the king that there is an enemy invasion. When they were 5,000 meters away, the expressions of the 2 generals suddenly changed. They looked at the 9 huge creatures, the battle team behind them, and the black clouds that had gathered in the sky and covered an area of 5 kilometers. Their pupils constricted slightly. They hurriedly ordered the military officers behind them. Report to the king? Yes. The military officers behind them were slightly stunned. A trace of shock appeared in their eyes, and they immediately reported to the direction of the palace. At this moment, the sun had just risen, but the approaching black clouds completely blocked out the sunlight. The true black clouds were pressing down on the city and wanted to destroy it. At this moment, in the palace of the One Leaf Dynasty, it was time for the Morning Dynasty. A yellow-robed old man stood in front of the dragon throne, his face full of anger as he glanced at all the important officials and generals in the hall. The Sky Island Dynasty has been attacked by other forces. Elder Wang and my daughter are missing. Immediately send someone to the Sky Island Dynasty to find out their background. Immediately. The king of the One Leaf Continent said with a gloomy face, "If anything happens to my daughter, I will kill their 9 families no matter what force they are." Please calm down, Your Majesty. The 3rd princess is with Elder Wang. She will not be safe in the flowing sea area. A minister immediately bowed and said respectfully, "Well, I don't think they dare to do anything to my daughter. Send someone immediately." Your Majesty, an unknown force has appeared outside the imperial city. They are not friendly. Chapter 1353. 1353 in the 1353 Kingdom War. Before King One Leaf could finish a sentence, a servant sent an urgent message from outside. His voice resounded throughout the entire hall. The king of the one-leaf continent dynasty was stunned. The officials and generals in the hall were also stunned. Boom! An unknown force has invaded us. I want to see which force dares to invade my one-leaf continent dynasty. One-leaf king's expression was extremely cold, and a terrifying killing intent shot out from his body. Follow me. Anyone who dares to disrespect us, kill them all. As One-Leaf King spoke, his body moved, and he disappeared from the throne. Go! Anyone who dares to invade our one-leaf continent dynasty die. I want to see what kind of force dares to invade us, and they don't know whether they are dead or alive. In the great hall, the generals flew out one by one, followed by the civil and military officials. The One-Leaf Kingdom was one of the top existences among the dozens of nearby countries. All along, no one had dared to provoke them. Now that a force had invaded them, they were simply courting death. Boom! Boom! Void interpretation experts flew toward the North Gate city wall with terrifying auras. The One-Leaf King was at the front. When he arrived at the North Gate city wall, the troops of the Dragon Palace had already arrived. Which force dares to intrude into the territory of our One-Leaf dynasty without any respect? Do you know your crime? The One-Leaf King looked at the black clouds in front of him, and more than 1,000 creatures were hovering in the sky aggressively. They were not friendly. The One-Leaf King didn't show any signs of weakness. He looked at everyone in front of him coldly. There were 9 terrifying creatures that were about 30 meters long. There was a young man sitting on a huge dragon chair. A group of demonic beasts. He narrowed his eyes slightly. Are all of you here? Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. You are the king of the One-Leaf mainland dynasty? 2 days ago, the princess and elder Wang of your dynasty offended my dragon palace. They were killed. Today, my dragon palace is here to destroy you. Prime Minister Gui raised his head slightly and looked down at the king of the One-Leaf Kingdom, explaining coldly. His tone was full of judgment. What, you bastards killed my daughter? Elder Wang? Elder Wang was killed by them. 1 day ago, the Sky Island Kingdom was attacked by a mysterious force. Could it be them? As soon as Prime Minister Gui finished speaking, the expressions of the One-Leaf King and all the generals and important officials behind him instantly darkened. This was especially so for the One-Leaf King. His eyes were bloodshot as his killing intent soared into the sky. You want to destroy our One-Leaf continent dynasty? Haha, with just you guys? Good, good. You dare to kill my daughter and an expert from our One-Leaf continent dynasty. Today, I want to see who will destroy who. The One-Leaf dynasty's king waved his arm, and a scepter appeared in his hand. All the generals of the One-Leaf dynasty and all the experts in the imperial city, fight for me! He roared, and his voice resounded throughout the entire imperial city. It's the king's voice. Is someone invading our country? You're courting death. Let's go and kill them. The king has given the order. All the forces go immediately. Damn it, who dares to invade us? The roar of the ferocious beast just now was actually from a faction that has invaded us. Head over to meet the enemy and kill them. In the other 3 directions, some factions and families heard the king's order. Their faces turned cold as they quickly flew towards the North Gate. The imperial city was their home. Once their home was forced, they would suffer huge losses. Moreover, the dynasty had a rule that during a war, all families and powerhouses had to participate. Otherwise, they would be killed immediately after the war. Under the circumstances where their own interests and safety were at stake, over 1 million people in the entire imperial city started to move. In a vast and mighty manner, all the martial artists who were above the level of the void interpretation realm gathered in the direction of the North Gate. Warriors of the Dragon Palace, prepare for battle! When Wang Xian saw King Yi Ye's order, the entire imperial city started to move. More than 1 million people flew over. The dark mass of warriors exuded an icy cold aura. A cold look appeared in his eyes. The 5 elements grinding mill condensed into a kingdom and slowly floated above his head as he shouted loudly, "Roar, roar, kill!" An orderly roar and an earth-shattering, killing cry resounded across the sky. His powerful aura rose to its peak. "King, the other party's strength isn't weak. There are quite a few profound void tier experts, and there are at least 2 4th level profound void tier experts. We have to be careful. What happened at the Sky Island Empire caused them to be slightly wary." An old man walked to the side of One Leaf King and said solemnly, "Imperial Uncle, with you and I here, and this is still our territory, no fear." The King of One Leaf did not lose his mind because his daughter was killed. He stared ahead, coldly. "Prepare the city defense equipment." He shouted softly, "Yes." Crack, crack, crack. On the surrounding city walls, there were metal equipment that were more than 10 meters in size. The equipment was emitting a huge, shiny arrow. "Get rid of these damn things for me." "Fire!" King Yi roared loudly. The surrounding city defense weapons were emitting a dazzling golden glow as they attacked Wang Xian and the rest who were in the sky. These city defense weapons were released together. They were able to threaten experts at the insightful void tier. "Fight!" Wang Xian saw the other party's attack and shouted softly, "Woo, woo, woo, woo." Just as Wang Xian finished his words, an excited sound wave came from the center of the Dragon Palace. The sound wave entered the ears of every warrior of the Dragon Palace, causing his aura to rise once again. In the sky, the black clouds that had gathered in a 5-kilometer radius suddenly moved slowly towards the imperial city of the One Leaf continent. Splash! Raindrops fell downwards. Some of them were emitting blue raindrops, while others were pitch-black raindrops. It looked extremely strange. The sound waves and black clouds all came from the Dolphin Clan. This was the first time that the powerful support of the Dolphin Clan had been used in a war. The battle has erupted. The enemy only has more than 1,000 creatures. More than 1,000 of them want to attack our imperial city and court death. Let's go and see how those reckless creatures were killed by the king. Behind the imperial city of the One Leaf continent, some martial artists had just arrived at the North Gate. When they saw the more than 1,000 creatures in the sky, their eyes revealed a look of disdain. "We have millions of people. Even if each of US launches an attack, the insightful void martial artists will have to resist all of us. More than 1,000 creatures dare to attack our One Leaf continent empire. They are courting death." In front of the North Gate, millions of people were floating in the sky. With so many people, they could not interfere at all. At first, they thought that the intruders would be very powerful. However, there were only 1,000 or so creatures, and they did not take them seriously at all. One had to know that the demon beasts and ferocious beasts that had attacked cities in the past were millions or even tens of millions. More than 1,000 creatures still wanted to attack them. You're courting death. Chapter 1354. 1354 in the 1354 Kingdom War. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Strange rain began to fall from the sky within a 5-kilometer radius. Many sharp siege weapons that were more than 10 meters long shot toward everyone in the Dragon Palace. Roar, roar. The 9 flood dragons looked at the 4,000 to 5,000 sharp weapons with disdain in their eyes. One of the flood dragons on the left slightly flapped its not very large wings, and streams of green wind light directly wrapped around the siege weapons. Those siege weapons were instantly bound. The flood dragon's body shook once again, and huge arrows shot towards the direction of the attack. Activate the formation. All ranged attackers, cover them. One of the generals saw that the arrow was easily blocked by a flood dragon, and his expression changed slightly. He hurriedly shouted, "Wang, An earthen yellow city protection formation was activated. A powerful formation protected the entire imperial city. Kill them. Kill them all. Within the city protection formation, the soldiers on the city walls roared loudly. Kill! Kill! Behind them, 1,000,000 people from the imperial city of the one-leaf continent roared loudly. The word kill rushed into the clouds and shook the surrounding 100 kilometers. Ao Chi break through the city. Prime Minister Gue saw countless attacks of various attributes coming at them and said indifferently to the demon war department behind them, "Yes, roar." Ao Chi-Tian's 15-meter large body roared loudly, and a golden ocean pacifying needle appeared in his hand. Big. With a light roar, the ocean pacifying needle in his hand became 1,000 meters long. This was the ocean pacifying needle in a level 4 dragon palace, and it had consumed several tons of hollow-level materials. The 1,000-meter-long and 10-meter-wide ocean-pacifying needle instantly stood between heaven and earth. Even Ao Chi-Tian looked tiny in front of the needle. Destroy the city. Ao Chi-Tian held the ocean-pacifying needle in his arms and smashed it toward the city wall. What is this thing? What kind of weapon is this? Attack! Attack! When Ao Chi-Tian held the 1,000-meter-long ocean-pacifying needle and smashed it toward the city wall, everyone's expressions changed. Even One-Leaf King and the general's expressions changed drastically. Crack! 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 The ocean-pacifying needle landed, and the rank 2 defensive array shattered like glass. Get lost! A rank 3 void interpretation expert from the one-leaf continent waved his arm, and a 100-meter-long fist landed on the ocean-pacifying needle. Charge! Prime Minister Gue waved his arm. Kill! Heavenly lightning destruction. Dragon scales arrows. Heavenly sword demon vanquishing. With an order, Ao Chi raised his hammer-like arm and pointed at the sky. Within the dark clouds, terrifying lightning bolts descended and attacked the city wall of the one-leaf continent empire. Mao Zedong pulled the bowstring to its maximum, and an arrow covered in dragon scales shot forward. The arrow came to the city wall and exploded into sharp dragon scales. Ao Jian held a golden longsword in his hand, and a 2,000-meter-long sword appeared out of thin air and charged forward. Behind him, demon monkeys, thunder prawns, golden swords, and fish charged forward. All the members of the Heavenly Eye Arrow Division floated in the sky, and their bows and arrows were aimed at the enemy. All the insightful emptiness realm experts, kill them all for me. The One-Leaf King's expression changed slightly when he saw the terrifying attacks unleashed by the members of the Dragon Palace, one by one. He roared and immediately ordered, "Kill!" The city defense array had been broken, and the real battle was about to begin. On the city wall, the insightful emptiness realm experts of the One-Leaf Continent dynasty directly attacked the leaders of the Dragon Palace. The old man next to the One-Leaf King fixed his gaze on Mao Zedong. He could sense a force of the same level from his body. The One-Leaf King did not move either. He stared at Wang Xian coldly. "Tell me your name. I will kill you later." He stared at Wang Xian coldly. His eyes were filled with endless coldness. When Wang Xian saw the king of One Leaf staring at him coldly, a look of contempt appeared on his face. He stood up slowly and looked at the king of One Leaf. He said faintly, "You are not qualified. You are not qualified." Wang Xian was not prepared to make a move in today's battle. In fact, he did not even need to make a move. Arrogant, arrogant fellow. When the One-Leaf King heard Wang Xian's words, his face turned extremely gloomy. They said that he was not qualified. How dare they say that he was not qualified? He was the king of a country. Among the surrounding dynasties, he was the strongest. Now he was completely ignored. Be careful. Be careful of the rain in the sky and that voice. Be careful. His strength is not at level 1 of the see-through realm. He is at level 2 of the see-through realm. What a terrifying defense. Their strength is above the 9th level of the extraordinary realm. Those who are not strong enough will switch to long-range attacks. Do not engage in close combat. Oh my God, a person beside him was killed for no reason. There are killers, there are killers. At this moment, screams suddenly came from the front of the city wall. Panic. The war had already broken out, but in less than a minute, panicked roars came from the One-Leaf Continent dynasty. Over 10,000 soldiers rushed out of the city walls to meet the members of the Dragon Palace. In an instant of collision, a profound void martial artist versus a profound void martial artist. Transcendence versus transcendence. However, when one by one a profound void martial artist went up against a profound void martial artist of the Dragon Palace, they were caught off guard and were almost instantly killed. Several profound void martial artists instantly joined forces to fight against one. And those transcendent realm warriors were even more miserable. More than 1,000 warriors of the Dragon Palace, with the lowest combat strength being at the 9th rank of the transcendent realm, collided in an instant. Tens of thousands of soldiers, 10 of them besieging one, also instantly killed several thousand people. What made them even more terrified was that the black raindrops in the sky fell on their bodies and actually corroded their spiritual chi. Some of the weaker ones even died directly under the black rain. There were also those special sound wave attacks that disturbed their minds. Surround and attack. 1,000 leaves battle team. Charge. All the experts of the families in the city. Charge out and kill the enemy. Seeing that the soldiers and generals who charged out had instantly suffered a great loss, the One-Leaf King's expression changed slightly as he ordered in a low voice. Boom, boom, boom. Behind them, battle teams riding on fierce beasts and demon beasts charged out to meet the experts of the Dragon Palace. The eyes of some experts of families and powerful mercenary groups in the imperial city of the One-Leaf Continent flickered when they heard the king's order. Charge! The enemy only has more than 1,000 people. No matter how strong they are, we can kill them with numbers. Kill. One person and one attack can kill them all. The powerful battle teams of the One-Leaf Continent rushed out, and the powerful families in the imperial city also rushed out. In an instant, a few more insightful void martial artists and more than 100,000 martial artists joined the battle. The total number of people was tens of times, or even tens of times, or even hundreds of times more. 9 flood dragons attack. Ayo Yao, let's move. Wang Xian saw more than 100,000 people rushing out directly and said directly with a calm expression, Chapter 1355. 1355 laughed as they watched the dynasty fall. Roar. On the battlefield at the North Gate, on average, hundreds of soldiers from the One-Leaf Continent dynasty surrounded and attacked a member of the Dragon Palace. 2 or 3 void interpretation experts surrounded and attacked Ao Qitian, 8 Qi, Ao, Qi Ao Xia, and a few newly advanced void interpretation experts. In terms of numbers, the Continent dynasty completely crushed them in one night. However, when the roars of the 9 flood dragons sounded on the battlefield and the strange demons that had been hiding in the surroundings started to move, everything started to change. Roar, roar, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 9 flood dragons flapped their wings, and their bodies emitted a green light. Their bodies moved, bringing along countless wind blades as they attacked the insightful void martial artists, one after another. The 9 enormous figures and any nearby humans were all directly crushed by the sharp wind blades. In the chaotic battlefield, an expert from the First Leaf Continent dynasty of the 2nd rank of the insightful void martial artists faced off against a flood dragon. In an instant, when they collided, his eyes were filled with fear. Terrifying strength powerful wind attribute attacks. His body flew far away, his eyes filled with fear. Be careful! These 9 creatures have the terrifying strength of the 3rd rank of the Void Interpretation Realm. Be careful! He hurriedly roared. What? When everyone from the One Leaf Continent heard this, their expressions changed instantly. All of them are 3rd-level Void Interpretation. There are only 9 3rd-level Void Interpretation in our entire country. Moreover, the other party doesn't only have 9 3rd-level Void Interpretation experts. In addition, the Berserk Devil Monkey, the terrifying lightning creature, the middle-aged man holding the golden long sword, and that sinister 8-headed creature are all 3rd-level Void Interpretation. Don't be afraid. Our king hasn't made his move yet. Kill, kill, kill. We're all covered in black clouds, and that raindrop actually carries poison. That sound wave can increase the opponent's strength and disrupt our minds. Those arrows all contain powerful poisons, and anyone who touches them will die. Don't be afraid. We have dozens of times more people than them. Hundreds of thousands of people in front of the One Leaf Dynasty shouted. 9 flood dragons joined the battle, which greatly reduced the pressure on Ao Chitian and the other members of the Dragon Palace. The people of the Heavenly Eye Arrow Division stood at the back and shot arrows toward the overwhelming attacks. What frightened all the warriors of the One Leaf Dynasty was that the arrows carried a terrifying toxin. The poison splashed onto their bodies, and the powerful poison killed them instantly. Only those above the Type 8 realm could withstand the poison. Other than the poison, the rain of poison in the sky, as well as the terrifying sound waves, had greatly reduced their attacks. On the other hand, after receiving the attack, the blue raindrops fell on their bodies, speeding up the recovery of their injuries. There were even streams of water flowing towards them, healing their injuries. Go and kill those archers and dolphins in front of us. We can't let them support and attack from the back. An expert at the Profound Void tier sensed that the attack he released was less than 90% of its peak, and his expression was extremely unsightly. He roared loudly and pointed in the direction of the heavens, Clan and dolphins, shouting loudly, Go, go, block the other creatures. Our Sky Wolf battle team will charge forward. 100-man battle team riding on a water-blue, wolf-shaped creature charged forward. Their strength was at least at the 8th rank of the extraordinary realm. Together with the powerful beast mounts they were riding, one of them could fight against 2 or 3 of the same level. Kiki! Around the hundreds of dolphins, each of them was entrenched in the air. Colorful venomous snakes saw someone charging towards them. Their ice-cold eyes were filled with mockery. Kill them. The 100 members of the serious battle team glanced at Wang Xian warily before charging towards the group of dolphins and the Heaven's Eye clan. Wang Xian looked at them with a cold expression. He didn't move. The members of the Heaven's Eye Arrow clan didn't even spare them a glance. When they were within a 500-meter radius, streams of poisonous substances instantly charged towards them. The terrifying poison started to boil in the air, as if it was going to corrode the space. Ah, be careful of the poison. Oh no, we can't block it. We can't block it at all. Retreat, retreat. In an instant, terrified voices came from the serious battle team. The cold eyes of the poisonous snakes were filled with disdain. As the auxiliary and long-range attackers of the Dragon Palace, they naturally wanted the enemy to come and kill them. They had long prepared the surrounding toxins. These toxins would kill even those at the first level of the Profound Void tier. Only those at the second level of the Profound Void tier could charge over. However, the experts of the Dragon Palace blocked all the enemies at the second level of the Profound Void tier. The battle entered a short-term stalemate when more than 100,000 people of the One Leaf Continent dynasty charged over. The experts at the 9th level of the Extraordinary Realm were powerful, but they could not kill hundreds of experts at the 8th level and 7th level of the extraordinary realm in an instant. Continue. Those at the back continued charging forward. One Leaf King looked at the entire battlefield. Generals versus generals, soldiers versus soldiers. Their strength was temporarily tied. His eyes flashed with a cold expression as he stood there and shouted once again, "It's the king! Charge! Kill them!" In the imperial city, there were at least 800,000 to 900,000 people who did not make a move. Although their strength was not as strong as those who charged out, their numbers were huge. A quantitative change could produce a qualitative change. 30 level 7 transcendents might not be able to defeat one level 8 transcendent, but it was hard to say if there were 50 or 60 of them. They are not our match. Let's kill these bastards. Once again, more than 100,000 people flew out of the city, their cold gazes locked onto the members of the Dragon Palace. However, at this moment, screams of terror suddenly came from the battlefield. Among the screams, there were 3 experts at the insightful Void Realm. The rest were all half-step insightful Void Realm experts and rank 9 transcendents. In an instant, it was as if the half-step insightful Void Realm experts and rank 9 transcendents on the battlefield had been cleaned up. The sudden death and screams caused everyone to be somewhat stunned, especially the members of the One Leaf Continent Imperial City below the Void interpretation stage. Their leader, their captain, had suddenly died. Many people only saw a ray of light and realized that their captain was already dead. After their captain, sergeant, and their commander were killed, the entire team was thrown into chaos. Operation Beheading Hands began. The strange demon moved. Roar, roar, roar. When their captain and sergeant were killed, the roar of the demon monkey, the roar of thunder, and the sound of metal swords covered the entire battlefield. In just a few seconds, at least 10,000 people were killed. The One Leaf dynasty was at a disadvantage, and as time passed, more and more people were killed. Be careful, there are assassins, assassins! A rank 9 transcendent expert shouted in fear, his face filled with panic. How terrifying would assassins be in battle? During battle, they did not have time to guard their surroundings. If they were targeted, 90% of them would die. What made them even more afraid was where were those assassins hiding? Not good. Not good. In the sky, at the Dimension Sundering Realm battlefield, the expressions of all the Dimension Sundering Realm experts of the One Leaf continent changed slightly. Facing the experts of the Dragon Palace, they had already felt immense pressure. Now that 3 more Dimension Sundering Realm experts had died, what was going to happen next? Danger. We have to kill him or else. When the One Leaf King saw this scene, his expression changed drastically. His expression slowly became ferocious as he stared at that young man. That fellow who said that he wasn't qualified could only obtain victory by killing him. He wanted this fellow to know whether he was qualified or not. Chapter 1356. 1356 watched as the dynasty was destroyed. Prepare to die. At the north gate of the imperial city of One Leaf, a bitter war broke out. Hundreds of thousands of people besieged, more than 1,000 people, but they were completely crushed. This made One Leaf King's eyes almost pop out of their sockets. Looking at this scene, he let out a roar, and his body surged with seawater. Above his head, a raging wave that covered an area of about 2 kilometers slowly gathered. He raised the water-blue staff in his hand with an angry expression. The staff was about 2 meters in size and looked extremely heavy. On the staff, 3 water spirit pearls were embedded in it. Damn thing! I will tell you that invading our One Leaf Kingdom is your stupidest decision. Today, I will kill you and bury you in the sea. The One Leaf King held his staff with both hands and stared at Wang Xian coldly. The two of them faced each other from afar. The staff in his hand was connected to the huge waves above his head. The king is about to make his move. Furthermore, His Majesty's strongest attack is the wave forward thrust. Even with hundreds of thousands of us, we are not his opponent. If the king does not make his move, he will lose. How can his opponent's strength be so terrifying? All of them have the strength of at least rank 9 transcendence, as well as that terrifying assassin. However, if the king makes a move, he will definitely be able to turn the tide. That's only natural. His Majesty is one of the strongest experts within 1,000 kilometers. He isn't someone a young man can deal with. When the One-Leaf King's cold voice rang out and the Dharma idol in the sky condensed, the eyes of the citizens in the imperial city of the One-Leaf continent behind him flickered as they stared at him. They were somewhat shocked by the strength of these 1,000-plus creatures. Seeing the generals of the dynasty being killed and the soldiers being crushed, each and every one of them had an extremely unsightly expression. However, it was fortunate that His Majesty the King was still there. Everyone in the imperial city knew of King One-Leaf's strength. He was the most powerful existence among the surrounding dozen or so countries. If the king makes a move, he will definitely be able to turn the tide. All the citizens at the back were filled with absolute confidence. They clenched their fists and stared at him. Dharma idol, wave front thorn, prepare to die, you little thief. The king of One-Leaf slowly floated in the air. The waves that covered a radius of 2 kilometers above his head slowly condensed into a long spear. It was a long spear that was at least 1,000 to 2,000 meters long. He raised his staff with both hands, and a terrifying water energy burst out from his body. He shouted loudly, "Charge!" With a loud shout, the terrifying water energy spear shot towards Wang Xian like a huge siege weapon. Die! The One-Leaf King's expression was extremely ferocious. His eyes were filled with ferocity. Behind him, nearly 1,000,000 people were staring at the attack of His Majesty. There were also many people on the battlefield looking over. If the king could defeat the leader of this force, then they would have won this war. Everyone firmly believed that their One-Leaf King would definitely win. Their One-Leaf King was invincible. I've said it, you don't have the right to make me attack. Since you want to die, then die. The king's hand looked at the terrifying Dharma idol in the sky that was attacking him. His expression was still incomparably calm. Looking at the One-Leaf King, his expression was filled with disdain. Just as he finished his sentence, the One-Leaf King who was floating in the sky trembled. Following that, under everyone's shock, they saw their king. The head of the king, who was invincible in their hearts, flew straight into the sky. His eyes were wide open and filled with disbelief. There were no signs at all. No one could see who was the one who attacked. The spear attack from the Dharma idol arrived 2 meters in front of Wang Xian. The terrifying, piercing light dissipated instantly. The corpse fell towards the city wall. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? The king was killed before the king's attack even arrived. Stunned and shocked. Boom! No, how is this possible? The king, His Majesty the King. Who killed him? What's going on? What's going on? Why did His Majesty the King suddenly die? Assassin! It was the assassin who attacked just now. Oh my God, the king actually died. After a short period of silence, the millions of people behind exploded with incomparable fear. Under the illumination of the sun, their king's head flew up directly, and a terrifying impact force went straight into their hearts. Everyone's bodies trembled, and they all roared in shock. What? Your Majesty! Your Majesty! In the sky, a void interpretation expert from the One-Leaf Continent dynasty felt their king's death, and his body trembled. Instant kill. Their king was a peak void interpretation tier 4 expert, yet he was killed in an instant. Just how terrifying was the assassin hidden in the void? Furthermore, there was also that young man standing in front of the dragon throne, the leader of this group of forces. The morale of the army was in chaos. When the team leaders and sergeants were assassinated just now, the morale of the army had already been shaken. Now, the morale of the army was in chaos. Take this. At this moment, a violent sound rang out in the sky. Bang! The sound of a terrifying collision was heard. Ao Chi-Tien held the sea-pacifying needle in his hand, and the 100-meter-long metal rod directly smashed into the body of an elder at the third level of the insightful void tier. The violent impact force caused the elder at the third level of the insightful void tier to fall directly toward the city wall. Boom! With a loud sound, the old man's body was completely smashed into the city wall. Kill! A violent roar came from Ao Chi-Tien's mouth. His figure moved, and he rushed to the front of Ao Chi, joining hands to fight against another expert at the third rank of the profound void tier. The death of the king and the death of the third rank of the profound void tier expert were the prelude to the destruction of the One-Leaf Continent's dynasty. At this moment, the second round of assassinations of the strange demons had begun. With more than 200 strange demons assassinating them, more than half of the top-tier combat strength on the battlefield would be lost. It's over, our One-Leaf Continent empire is over. Seeing this scene, the millions of people behind them had terrified and desperate expressions on their faces. On the battlefield, Ao Yao began to move. As a fully formed thorn dragon species, his strength could kill a person 2 levels above him. As a third-level void interpretation, he could assassinate a 5th-level void interpretation. Currently in the Dragon Palace, Ao Yao's strength was only second to Wang Xian. After Ao Yao made his move, there was no need for Wang Xian to make a move on the entire battlefield. One by one, experts at the void interpretation level died. One by one, experts from the One-Leaf Continent Empire died under the hands of the Dragon Palace. The terrifying roar of the demon monkey, the violent thunder and lightning of the thunder shrimp, the piercing of sharp swords and the deadly arrows. The members of the Dragon Palace were like a powerful army that had never been defeated in 100 battles. They charged forward fiercely. Close combat, long-range attacks, support, poison. The army and experts of the One-Leaf mainland dynasty fell rapidly. Panic spread to the entire imperial city. Wang Xian stood quietly in front of the Dragon Palace. He smiled as he looked at his subordinates who were killing in all directions in an awe-inspiring manner, smiling as he looked at his enemies who were filled with fear and despair, smiling as he looked at the destruction of the dynasty, smiling as he looked at the rise of the storm. Chapter 1357. 1357 obtained a huge harvest. Surrender, we surrender, don't kill us. I surrender, I'm willing to surrender, don't kill me. Screams of terror resounded in the sky of the One-Leaf Continent dynasty. When the last insightful void martial artist of the dynasty died, everyone in the dynasty revealed expressions of despair. Roar, roar, roar. The members of the Dragon Palace stopped killing and stopped attacking. They let out a roar of victory. The sound covered the entire imperial city of the One-Leaf Continent. Enter the city. Prime Minister Gue revealed a smile when he saw this scene. He moved and came to Wang Xian's side. Yes, the group of members of the Dragon Palace came to Wang Xian's back in unison. None of them seemed to have died. At this moment, the soldiers of the One-Leaf mainland dynasty who were injured noticed a problem with a horrified expression. That was, none of the forces that defeated their enemies and killed all the powerhouses of their dynasty had died. Even those creatures below the insightful void tier didn't die. Their corpses were all around them. This discovery made everyone from the One-Leaf Continent dynasty widen their eyes. Their eyes were filled with fear. After destroying them, The other party didn't even expend a single soldier. Just thinking about it made them feel a little terrified. Those who submit kneel. Wang Xian sat upright on the dragon throne. His gaze swept across the empire that had been conquered. Prime Minister Gue stood at the side. He looked down coldly at the citizens of the defeated empire. His majestic voice covered the entire imperial city. Those who submit kneel. These 5 words resounded in everyone's mind. On the battlefield, the expressions of everyone from the One Leaf dynasty changed drastically. Those who do not submit die. From the back, Ao Qitian saw the hesitant expressions of the people from the One Leaf dynasty. He did not hesitate at all. The ocean pacifying needle in his hand turned into a few hundred meters wide and shot downwards. Ah! Ao Qitian's blow had killed at least 4,000 to 5,000 people. He suppressed everyone below with a ferocious expression. He would not show any mercy to his enemies. In this kind of war, there was no right or wrong, no justice or evil. The victor was the king. The weak were ants. Plop, plop. With a swing of the club, everyone from the One Leaf dynasty immediately knelt on the ground in fear. After witnessing how terrifying Ao Qitian was, the pride in their hearts vanished. Now they were captives and they were losers. Oh my God, we've lost, we've lost. They are so terrifying, so terrifying. Kneel down, quickly kneel down, or they will really kill us. In the city, the people of the One Leaf dynasty were all kneeling on the ground in fear when they saw Ao Qitian kill 4,000 to 5,000 people in one move. Roar. The 9 flood dragons roared and landed on the ground. The members of the Dragon Palace also landed on the ground. Around them, the hundreds of thousands of people who had not been killed kneeled on the ground and retreated. Open the city gate. Quick, open the city gate. Some of the soldiers kneeling on the city wall saw this scene and immediately shouted in fear. Crack, crack, crack. Soon after, the huge city gate slowly opened. On both sides of the city gate, the soldiers knelt there, not daring to move at all. During the war, just now, they had witnessed the horror and brutality of the Dragon Palace. Now, how would they dare to resist? The king was dead and the strong were dead. Their fate was already in the hands of the other party. If the other party wanted them to live, they would live. If they were to die, they would die. There was no room for resistance at all. Roar, roar. The 9 flood dragons looked at the wide open city gates with satisfaction. They walked arrogantly and pulled the dragon throne towards the imperial city. Wang Xian sat on the dragon chairs without any fluctuation. Upon entering the city gates, both sides were filled with the citizens of the One Leaf continent who were kneeling on the ground. Sensing the violent aura coming from the 9 flood dragons, Demon Monkey and the rest, all of them trembled in fear. The 9 flood dragons continued to move forward. The citizens of the One Leaf continent's imperial city in the distance hurriedly knelt on the ground in fear when they saw them enter. Tens of millions of people knelt on the ground in rows. At this moment, Wang Xian was like their king. When he arrived at the Dragon Palace of the imperial city and swept his gaze across the magnificent Dragon Palace, a smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. Next, it's time to reap the rewards. He swept his gaze across everyone in the Dragon Palace indifferently. I'm very satisfied with this battle. Thank you, Dragon King, for your praise. The members of the Dragon Palace replied in a hurry with happy faces. Go and take back the spoils of war that belong to us. Wang Xian waved his hand and ordered the members of the Dragon Palace. All combat divisions head to the imperial city separately and bring all the treasures in everyone's household over. Those who resist will be killed without mercy. Prime Minister Gue ordered all the members of the Dragon Palace. Yes, in an instant, all the members of the Dragon Palace moved. Since they had taken down this dynasty, it was for the resources, the resources of the entire imperial city, and the resources of the entire dynasty. Regardless of whether the people of the imperial city agreed or not, they had no choice. If the Dragon Palace did not have absolute strength, the Sky Island dynasty and the One Leaf Continent dynasty might join forces to occupy the deep sea spiritual spring. As for the Dragon Palace, if they resisted, they would be waiting for their demise. At this moment, it was not just the imperial city of the One Leaf mainland dynasty. In the entire dynasty and all the cities, the figures of the members of the Dragon Palace were wreaking havoc. All the treasures belonged to the Dragon Palace. TSK, this One Leaf mainland dynasty is indeed the best dynasty in the surrounding domain. There are so many items in the imperial treasury. Wang Xian came to the treasury and scanned his surroundings. His eyes lit up slightly. As a dynasty that was 5,000 to 6,000 years old, there were simply too many treasures in it. There were hundreds of tons of void interpretation level materials alone. What kind of concept was this? If it was given to a powerful artifact master, he could forge thousands of void interpretation weapons. However, artifact masters were rare. Other than the various materials, there were also many precious items. Formations, strange weapons, various remnant secret arts, and even the training maps of some special battle teams. These items are all very valuable. I have to think of a way to sell them and exchange them for resources that can be used by the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian's eyes sparkled. He picked up a few earth and water spirit pearls and handed them to the 5 elements millstone to devour. Dragon King, news from the other cities of the One Leaf Continent dynasty has been received. All of them have succeeded. Dragon King, all the treasures in the imperial city have been searched into the interspatial ring. One by one, the information was sent over. One by one, the interspatial rings filled with treasures were sent over. Wang Xian revealed a satisfied expression on his face. The value of these treasures was definitely worth tens of trillions of middle-grade spirit stones. After that, the Dragon Palace would be able to receive a considerable upgrade. In fact, if someone offended the Dragon Palace and destroyed a few more factions, he would be able to gather all the resources he needed to level up. Chapter 1358. 1358, Lord Wang, 1358, had arrived. Let's go back to the palace. A majestic voice resounded in the sky. 9 dragons swayed their huge bodies as they flew into the sky. Roar, roar! With a roar, they increased their speed and flew into the sky. Below, all the citizens of the One Leaf Continent dynasty looked at the 1,000-something creatures flying into the sky with ugly expressions. Their eyes were filled with helplessness. In less than half a day, all the valuable items in the imperial city had been taken away. All the treasures in the families had been taken out. Boom, boom, boom. As the people of the Dragon Palace flew, the members of the Dragon Palace who had gone to other cities flew back and followed behind them toward the Dragon Palace. The flames of war covered the entire dynasty. With the return of the members of the Dragon Palace, the One Leaf Continent dynasty would enter a new era. Perhaps it could be rebuilt, or perhaps it would disappear completely in the future. Xiao Xian, how is it? Upon returning to the Dragon Palace, Guan Shuqing and the other girls came up to welcome him, returning with a full load. Wang Xian nodded his head faintly and said with a smile. He waved his arm and threw the interspatial ring in his hand to Prime Minister Gui, who was beside him. Prime Minister Gui, you handle all the resources. First, increase the strength of the members of the Dragon Palace. Then, clean up the surroundings and see if you can recruit new members. Wang Xian instructed him. There were still too few members of the Dragon Palace at the moment. More than 3,000 subordinates were considered a small number even for a low-level dynasty. If it was not for the fact that the top-tier combat strength of the One Leaf Continent dynasty was relatively strong, the Dragon Palace, might not be able to win in a real battle. The hundreds of thousands of people could defeat the Dragon Palace with a huge number. After obtaining the resources of the entire dynasty, all the members of the Dragon Palace were at least at the half-step void interpretation realm. There would be more than 10 or 20 void interpretation experts. However, it would be difficult for the group of leaders to get another upgrade. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gue nodded respectfully and left immediately. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the Dragon Palace, which covered an area of 150 kilometers. Finally, he landed on a few girls and chuckled. He had left for a year and had yet to have a good time with them after he returned. His body moved and, amidst the exclamations of the girls, he flew straight into the bedroom. Xiaoyu, who was at the side, rolled her eyes. Zhang Fengying was stunned and shook her head slowly. In the next few days, Wang Xian lived a happy and unrestrained life. Prime Minister Gue would take care of the matters in the Dragon Palace. He could just accompany a few girls on the collapse every day. They lived a carefree life. Under the huge amount of resources, the cultivation of the few girls was directly elevated to the second level of the profound void stage. Dragon King, this is our herb garden. There are more than 50,000 spiritual herbs in there. The highest level is the transcendent level 9 spiritual herb. Ba Qi brought Ao Qitian and the rest to the surroundings to subdue some demonic beast races. The area of 150 kilometers of our Dragon Palace's territory is currently not used in many places. After resting for 3 to 4 days, Wang Xian and Prime Minister Gue toured the entire Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Gue introduced them to him one by one. Yes, Wang Xian nodded slowly. The area of 150 kilometers was very, very large. On the other hand, the Dragon Palace only had over 3,000 creatures. Compared to this space, it was simply too little. Brother! At this moment, Xiaoyu flew over from the Dragon King's palace and shouted at him. What's wrong? Xiaoyu! Wang Xian looked over and asked with a smile. Brother, Ling Tian, is Sister Fengwan in trouble? Xiaoyu flew to his side and said to him with a frown. In trouble? What happened? Wang Xian immediately asked. Ling Tian's communication stone plate told me that the Dragon and Phoenix Empire is currently at war with the Star Moon Empire and a few other empires. The armies of the other empires are rushing over. The Dragon and Phoenix Empire is currently in a crisis. Sister Fengwan asked Ling Tian to return to the Dragon Palace. She will not allow him to participate in the following battles. I think Sister Fengwan will not allow Ling Tian to return unless it is a crisis. Xiaoyu said to Wang Xian worriedly. During the period when Wang Xian had just left, Fengwan had basically stayed in the Dragon Palace to cultivate. As time passed, the group of girls became more familiar with each other. After the Dragon Palace discovered the deep-sea spiritual spring, the Dragon Phoenix Empire had also attracted a large number of citizens. Therefore, the chances of them meeting each other were limited. I'll go over and take a look. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and flew out directly. Ao Jian led a golden swordfish behind him immediately. As the Dragon King's guards, they had to follow the Dragon King at all times. He actually sent Feng Ling Tian back to the Dragon Palace. It seems that the situation is extremely critical. Wang Xian flew quickly in the ocean. Due to the migration of the Dragon Palace, it would take at least 20 minutes to travel to the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Whoosh! When he arrived at the seaside, Wang Xian flew straight towards the Dragon and Phoenix City. Who is that in front of me? Stop right there. A cold voice was heard. Beams of sharp light pierced straight into the sky. Wang Xian was slightly stunned as he looked towards the city wall. At this moment, rows of soldiers were scattered on the city wall. They were dressed in armor and emitted a murderous aura. When he saw Wang Xian, Ao Jian, and the other two, he shouted coldly. It seems that many people in the Dragon and Phoenix Empire don't recognize themselves after a year. That's right. The population of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire is more than 10 million now. It's 7 to 8 times more than before. Many new people won't recognize themselves. Wang Xian thought to himself. He stopped in the air and swept his gaze across the surroundings. He shouted indifferently, "I'm Wang Xian!" Wang Xian. On the city wall, an old man's eyes revealed a look of surprise. However, he followed up with a cold gaze as he stared ahead. No matter who you are, the Dragon Phoenix Royal City has been sealed off. Wang Xian, it's Lord Wang. It's Lord Wang. Before the old man could finish his sentence, a young man's excited voice could be heard from the surroundings. The old man was slightly shocked as he looked at the captain. Lord Gu, it's Lord Wang, a friend of Her Majesty the Queen. I didn't expect Lord Wang to come. The young captain looked at the old man and said hurriedly, Lord Wang, I didn't expect Lord Wang to come. Is he here to help our Dragon Phoenix Empire? He must be. This city was conquered by Lord Wang to Her Majesty the Queen back then. Furthermore, Lord Wang was the one who sent people here to help tide over the crisis. That's great. I didn't expect Lord Wang to be here at this time. On the city wall, dozens of soldiers from the past looked excited when they saw Wang Xian. They still remembered that when this place was still a town, they encountered a terrifying crisis. Lord Wang guarded the city by himself. He had saved their lives. They still remembered that when the Star Moon Dynasty had attacked them, it was Lord Wang who had led the powerful heavens-eyed demon beasts to once again save the entire Dragon Phoenix dynasty. This time, he had definitely come to help them. Chapter 1359. 1359 charged forward. A friend of Her Majesty the Queen. When the old man heard the voices of the soldiers around him, a look of astonishment appeared on his face. Since this Lord Wang is a friend of Her Majesty the Queen, please come in. I will bring you to the royal palace in front of you. He looked at Wang Xian in the sky and said in a deep voice, All right, it has been a year since I last came. The changes in the royal city have been huge. Wang Xian nodded his head lightly. His body moved and he flew directly to the city wall. Sir Wang, please. The elder gestured and led Wang Xian into the imperial palace. Sir Wang is here. We will definitely be able to get through this difficult period. Of course. I don't know why Sir Wang didn't bring his subordinates here this time. Lord Wang contributed a lot to our Dragon Phoenix dynasty in the beginning. On the city wall, some residents of St. C Town looked at him with admiration and respect. Is he really as powerful as you say? Isn't he just a young man? And he looks like an ordinary young master. It will be difficult for him to help us this time. That's right. I've heard of this Lord Wang before. But his strength shouldn't be at the profound void realm, right? What can he use to help us? That's right. This time, the despicable Star Moon Dynasty allied with 2 dynasties to besiege us. What can that Lord Wang use to help us? Some of the soldiers who came later heard their conversation and frowned as they spoke from the side. We believe in Lord Wang. He will definitely be able to help us. Help Her Majesty the Queen. You are all blind. What kind of enemy did you face a year ago? Our Dragon Phoenix dynasty has developed so quickly. A year later, we are facing 3 other dynasties. It is not some fierce beasts and a few insightful emptiness realm experts. It is very likely that there are 20 to 30 of them. The soldiers in the past firmly believed it. However, the soldiers who came later shook their heads in disapproval. This caused the expressions of the soldiers from Shanghai town to turn slightly ugly. At the same time, they also understood that this was only their best fantasy. The current Dragon Phoenix Empire was no longer the former Dragon Phoenix Empire, and the enemies now were no longer the same as before. Follow me. The old man gestured to Wang Xian at the entrance of the palace that occupied a radius of 10 kilometers. After going through strict checks, they arrived in front of the palace. Her Majesty the Queen is discussing something with a group of generals. Please wait outside. When they arrived in front of the palace, a woman stopped them outside. Report this. Just say that Wang Xian is outside. Your queen will let me in. Wang Xian said directly to the woman. The Dragon and Phoenix Empire was already on the right track. They could not enter just because they wanted to. Everything had to be reported. Of course, this was when they did not know about the relationship between Wang Xian and Feng Wan. Wang Xian? Sir Wang? The woman seemed to have gained some understanding. She was slightly surprised. She nodded quickly and walked into the main hall. Wang Xian, I didn't expect you to come back after disappearing for a year. A voice came directly from inside. Feng Wan, who was dressed in a luxurious fiery red robe with golden threads, walked out from inside. She wore a veil on her face, and the fiery red robe on her body was embroidered with the image of a phoenix. She looked like a queen who was the mother of the world. The temperament of the former empress was fully displayed. When Wang Xian saw Feng Wan's attire, he was slightly stunned. Her fair neck, long eyelashes, clear eyes, and her beautiful body that was covered under the phoenix robe. Her slightly furrowed brows made one's heart ache. Your Majesty, I didn't expect you to become more and more beautiful after a year. Wang Xian went up to her with a smile on his face. Your mouth is still the same. Come in. How's the situation in your dragon palace? Have you settled the matters at the deep sea spiritual spring? Feng Wan asked Wang Xian with a smile. I'm here. Naturally, I can settle it. Wang Xian smiled. Meanwhile, the old lady and the old man at the back were completely stunned. They actually saw Her Majesty the Queen, who was cold and arrogant as if she had transcended the mortal world, smiling so happily. They even joked with that young man. Oh my God, this was still Their Majesty the Queen. Was it fake? While they were shocked, they also realized the relationship between this Lord Wang and their queen. In a year's time, I didn't expect the Dragon Phoenix dynasty to develop so quickly. Wang Xian followed Feng Wan into the grand hall. The entire main hall was in the color of a fire dragon. It was different from the other palaces. The stone pillars around the main hall were engraved with flying fire phoenixes. The entire main hall was majestic and had a hint of a woman's beauty. I'm quite satisfied with the current development. Feng Wan smiled and looked around indifferently. At this moment, there were more than 30 people standing on both sides of the main hall. Some of them were generals and some were civil officials. Under Wang Xian's perception, those generals were all at the insightful emptiness realm. There were a total of 15 insightful emptiness realm experts. Other than these people, there were more than 10 people sitting at the front. Their attire was completely different from that of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Each of them had a hint of arrogance on their faces. Clearly, they were not from the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. When everyone in the hall saw Wang Xian, most of them had a look of astonishment in their eyes. They looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. A young man actually allowed their cold and arrogant queen to welcome him personally. Moreover, the queen, who was frowning coldly just now, was clearly in a much better mood at this moment. This could not help but cause some people in the main hall to be puzzled. This was the queen's man. Wang Xian, sit at the side first and wait for me to settle some urgent matters. Feng Wan gestured to a seat beside the throne and said to him. Wang Xian nodded his head lightly and sat down. Ao Jian and another golden swordfish stood on the left and right. Queen of Dragons and Phoenixes, don't delay any further. With your conditions, it's impossible for our Danyuan dynasty to send troops to assist you. Wang Xian had just sat down when he heard a dozen or so people in the middle of the room, who were sitting on chairs, speaking faintly. There were a dozen people and 5 old men. The rest of them were middle-aged men. The middle-aged man in the middle had a beard on his mouth and was dressed in luxurious plush clothes. His body was filled with a noble aura. He looked at Feng Yuan and spoke faintly. Feng Yuan frowned again. When she heard their words, her eyes flickered. These conditions of mine can bring about a strong increase in your Dongyuan dynasty in the next few years. If you don't agree, what do you want? Dragon and Phoenix Queen. You also know that it will be in the next few years. Who knows if there will be any accidents in the next few years? The noble middle-aged man who was sitting in the middle slowly stood up, and a gentle smile appeared on his face. It's very easy to get our Dongyuan dynasty to send out troops. The two countries will have a marriage alliance, and our Dongyuan king will fall in love with Queen Dragon and Phoenix at first sight. If the two countries have a marriage alliance, then the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty's matter will be our Dongyuan dynasty's matter. Chapter 1360. 1360 killed him. What? A marriage alliance between the two countries? Nonsense. As soon as the middle-aged man finished a sentence, a group of civil officials and generals in the back of the main hall revealed furious expressions. They shouted softly and glared angrily at the people of the Dongyuan dynasty, especially Yan Wenshan, Mang Hong, Yu Qingzi, and Jin Qianyuan. They wanted their queen to marry the Dongyuan dynasty. Their intentions were despicable. Wang Xian had just sat on the chair when he heard the middle-aged man's words. He narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the middle-aged man indifferently. This condition of your Dongyuan dynasty is really interesting. When Feng Yuan heard the middle-aged man's words, a hint of coldness flashed across her eyes. She took a deep breath and said faintly, "Our Dragon and Phoenix dynasty has already shown our sincerity. Please show your sincerity too." She continued to say expressionlessly, "Dragon Phoenix Queen, we are not joking. But our Dongyuan king also knows that if the queen does not agree, we cannot force it. Other than this condition, there is another condition. We want the flourishing era fire lotus and the flourishing era fire lotus formation. In addition, the Dragon Phoenix Empire will become a vassal state of our Dongyuan Empire." As the middle-aged man spoke, his eyes flashed with fervor. Flourishing era fire lotus. Vassal state. After Feng Yuan heard their second condition, her expression turned completely cold. "That's right, it's these two conditions. As long as you agree to one of these two conditions, our Dongyuan dynasty will send troops to protect your Dragon Phoenix dynasty. Otherwise, with the strength of the Star Moon dynasty and the other two dynasties, your Dragon Phoenix dynasty will definitely be destroyed. Dragon Phoenix Queen, you don't need to consider the first condition or the second one. Only these two methods can protect your dynasty." The middle-aged man's tone was firm as he stared at Feng Yuan with confidence. The Flourishing Age Fire Lotus is a 5th-level Profound Void Martial Art treasure, and the Fire Lotus Array is a 4th-level Profound Void Martial Art Cultivation Auxiliary Array. These two treasures are priceless. Feng Yuan stared at the middle-aged man, and her face darkened. "Other than these two things, you want our Dragon Phoenix Empire to become your vassal state." "Just a vassal state? Every year we hand over some tributes, and there's not much else to do. Compared to being destroyed, becoming a vassal state is just a small matter." The middle-aged man looked at Feng Yuan, and a faint smile appeared on his face. The middle-aged man's words caused Feng Yuan's expression to change. Below them, the civil officials and generals looked extremely embarrassed. If they were to become a vassal state, they would be bound and restricted by the Dongyuan dynasty. Their future development would definitely not be so easy. They would even have to hand over tributes every year. Becoming a vassal state was equivalent to becoming someone else's underling. What if both of them disagree? Wang Xian looked at Feng Yuan, who was frowning. He turned to the middle-aged man and said faintly, "Huh." The middle-aged man was slightly stunned when Wang Xian suddenly spoke. He raised his eyebrows and glanced at him. Then he said faintly, "You don't have the right to speak here." His words made Wang Xian smile. "What if we don't agree?" Feng Wan stared at the middle-aged man and said coldly, "If you don't agree, then forget it. There are some things that we can take for ourselves." The middle-aged man said faintly, "Are you threatening us?" At the back, the hot-tempered Hong Meng could no longer hold it in and shouted furiously, "No, no, no. I'm helping you. Star Moon Kingdom came to our country to discuss some matters not long ago. As he spoke, he could not help but laugh. His tone was filled with a threatening tone. They looked at Feng Wan as if they were going to eat her alive. The middle-aged man's words caused the entire hall to fall silent. "There's no rush. We'll give you time to consider. If you don't agree in half an hour, we'll leave immediately." The middle-aged man straightened his clothes with a smile. He turned around and walked out. The people beside him stood up with smiles on their faces and followed behind the middle-aged man. "Your Majesty, we'd better." An old civil official looked at the people of the Dongyuan dynasty walking out arrogantly and opened his mouth hesitantly. Everyone in the hall looked at the old man and felt a little helpless. This old man was the prime minister of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty and was responsible for the civil servants. His meaning was clear. He chose the second condition. If not, the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty would not be able to survive this calamity. Feng Wan opened her mouth. She knew that this was the best choice for the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. There was still room for them to turn things around if they became a vassal state. However, if they were destroyed, how many years would it take for them to rise again? It would be difficult to establish a dynasty. "Everyone, please wait." Feng Wan opened her mouth slightly. Just as she was about to speak, Wang Xian, who was sitting at the side, suddenly spoke. The people from the Dongyuan dynasty who were already walking at the door raised their eyebrows. Their eyes were filled with smiles. The middle-aged man turned around slightly and looked at Wang Xian arrogantly. Then he stared at Feng Wan with a smug expression. "Why, have you made up your mind? Are you going to choose the first or the second one?" The middle-aged man raised his head and asked with a smile, "Let me choose for them." Wang Xian watched as the middle-aged man ignored him again and again. Then he stood up slowly. He wanted them to see clearly. The middle-aged man raised his eyebrows slightly. Feng Wan also looked at Wang Xian with a frown. There was doubt in her eyes. Only a child would make a choice, but adults are all. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man and his group with a smile on his face. "Kill them. Kill them." It was a simple word. This word stunned everyone in the surroundings. Even the middle-aged man and his group from the Dongyuan Empire were slightly stunned. However, they soon realized what this word meant. Clang! Clang! Two bone-piercing sounds of sword rays rang out. Ao Jian and Wang Xian, who were behind Wang Xian, moved and directly attacked the group of over 10 people from the Dongyuan Empire. "What? Dragon and Phoenix Empire, you are courting death. If you dare to attack us, our Dongyuan Empire will guarantee the extermination of everyone in your empire." When the middle-aged man and the rest saw the 2 golden swordfish attacking them, they looked extremely embarrassed. The middle-aged man in the middle raised his head and stared coldly at Ao Jian and Ao Jian. They did not fight back. If they dared to kill them, they would be seeking their own destruction. He dared to guarantee that the other party would not dare to do anything to them. Moreover, when the 2 armies fought, they would not kill their envoys. If they dared to lose any hair here, it would be the Dragon Phoenix dynasty declaring war on their Dongyuan dynasty. With the current situation of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, it would be too late for them to curry favor with them. How could they still provoke them? The group of people behind the middle-aged man also stood there arrogantly as they stared coldly ahead. 10,000 swords destroy. However, they were wrong. Anyone who wanted to show off in front of Wang Xian would have to pay a heavy price. Not good. No, they really dare to attack. How dare they? How dare they? Chapter 1361. 1361. I like to destroy empires the most. In the main hall, a bone-piercing sword filled with killing intent charged straight towards the more than 10 people from the Dongyuan Empire who were acting cool. They thought that the Dragon and Phoenix Empire would not dare to make a move and offend them. Indeed, if Wang Xian had not arrived, the Dragon and Phoenix Empire would definitely not dare to do anything to them. However, it was a pity that the one who made a move was Wang Xian. Anyone who tried to show off in front of him would not have a good ending. Run away. Block it, quickly block it. When Ao Jian and the rest's attack arrived, more than a dozen people from the Dongyuan Empire were completely panicking. The middle-aged man, standing in the middle, narrowed his eyes slightly. His eyes were filled with fear. Dragon and Phoenix Empire, you are courting death! He roared, and a flame shield instantly appeared on his body. The flame shield was completely formed, like lava. The terrifying might of a rank 2 void interpretation expert erupted from his body. However, the ones who killed them were Ao Jian and a rank 1 void interpretation golden swordfish. Ao Jian could fight a rank 3 void interpretation expert, while the other golden swordfish could fight a rank 2 void interpretation expert. Ao Jian wanted to kill a level 2 insightful void martial artist, and he was caught off guard. It was completely poo. Instant kill. A series of saber and sword sounds and streaks of dazzling golden light directly pierced through their bodies. No, stop. In the Great Hall, the civil officials and some generals of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty were also panicking. This queen friend who had suddenly appeared had actually killed all the people of the Dongyuan dynasty without saying a word. This was killing all of them. The Dongyuan dynasty was the last support of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty, and now that they had suddenly offended them, what awaited them was destruction. 100% destruction. Even without the Star Moon dynasty taking action, the Dongyuan dynasty would destroy them. Everyone in the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty's hall was filled with fear. Cough, you dare to kill us? You're dead. Cough. My brother Wang will kill everyone in the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Everyone. Shut up. The middle-aged man in the middle widened his eyes and looked at the sharp sword that pierced through his heart. He raised his head and stared at everyone in front of him with a ferocious look. He growled with an incomparably ferocious look. Wang Xian, who was standing on the stage, spoke blandly. The long sword in Ao Jian's hand caused his head to fly up. Bang, bang, bang. The head rolled down. Every sound of it landing on the ground caused the hearts of the civil officials and generals in the hall to tremble. The Prime Minister of the Dragon Phoenix Empire was ashen-faced. His eyes were filled with despair. You have harmed our Dragon Phoenix Empire. His body was trembling as he shook his head helplessly and growled. Your Majesty, forgive me for not being able to serve the Empire. Your friend has killed the envoy of the Dongyuan Empire. This is a provocation to the Dongyuan Empire. This is suicide. A middle-aged man took 2 steps toward the center, bowed, and said with an extremely embarrassed expression, I can fight for the dynasty, but I won't die in vain. Please forgive me for not being able to continue serving the dynasty. Farewell. As he spoke, his body moved and flew out. When the other civil officials and generals saw a rank 2 profound void martial general leaving the dynasty, their expressions were extremely embarrassed. Their hearts were slightly shaken. Feng Wan stood in front of the throne and looked at the corpses on the ground and the generals, who had left expressionlessly. She looked down at everyone below. What made her feel gratified was that none of the generals and civil officials wanted to leave. This caused a faint smile to appear on her face. In the entire hall, The most calm person was probably the Golden Origin. He had known Wang Xian for the longest time. He knew that since young Master Wang dared to make a move, he must have his own thoughts. Young Master Wang would not make a move rashly. The entire hall fell silent. The generals and civil officials all looked at Feng Wan, waiting for her order. Feng Wan glanced at Ao Jian and Ao Jian. After a flash of surprise, she turned to look at Wang Xian and shook her head speechlessly. By killing the envoys of the Dongyuan Empire, you are declaring war on them. The only one who can support us will also attack the Dragon Phoenix Empire. How am I supposed to defend against 3 to 4 empires? She looked at Wang Xian and said bitterly, "So be it." Wang Xian looked at Feng Wan and shook his head. He smiled at her and said, "There's still me. 3 or 4 dynasties. I like destroying dynasties the most. I've said it before. I'll make you the only king on this road. I'll do it. I like destroying dynasties the most. I'll make you the only king on this continent." When Wang Xian's voice rang out in the hall, the civil servants and generals opened their mouths slightly. The prime minister widened his eyes. He gulped and wanted to say that he was bragging. "I believe it." However, at this moment, they heard Her Majesty's voice again. Everyone was stunned. How could they believe such nonsense? Could it be that their unworldly majesty, the Queen, had fallen in love? The IQ of a woman in love was 0. "Just trust me. Leave the matters of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire to me. I really want to see how many empires are coming. The more, the better." Wang Xian smiled at Feng Wan. After obtaining benefits from destroying the Heaven Island Empire and the One Leaf Continent Empire, Wang Xian wondered if he might as well start destroying some empires in the future. However, after thinking about it, he decided to let it go. There must be a limit to killing. One must not lose one's heart. If one provoked one's enemies, one should kill them. However, if one did not provoke one's own people, he would not kill the innocent. The Dragon Palace would also maintain this rule in the future. Now that he saw someone wanting to destroy the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty, Wang Xian was rather happy. That was because this gave him a reason to destroy them. "I'll leave it to you then. These few days have been too tiring." A city-toppling smile appeared on Feng Wan's face. After hearing Wang Xian's words, her tensed nerves could finally relax. She felt relaxed all over. This feeling of having someone to rely on is really good. A thought suddenly appeared in her mind. This made Feng Wan squint her eyes. It was unknown whether she was happy or flustered. "Let's withdraw from the court. Each of you should stand guard at your respective positions and monitor the enemy's actions." Feng Wan waved her hand lazily and walked towards the back of the hall. Wang Xian followed her with a smile on his face. Seeing the Queen leaving just like that, many people below looked at each other in dismay. This isn't the Queen quite responsible. Why is she following now? The Prime Minister watched Feng Wan leave with a dumbfounded expression. He didn't finish his words, but in the end, what he wanted to say was, why was she acting like a stupid monarch? One had to know that the Queen was usually a wise monarch with great ambitions. Yu Qingzi, Meng Hong, Yan Wenshan, the few generals, that is, what should we do now? Some of the civil servants and generals looked at the 3 of them. The 3 of them had followed the Queen for the longest time. They knew a lot of things that they didn't know. This is a real man. Young Master Wang is a man that the Queen can rely on. Suddenly, Mang Hong looked at Wang Xian's disappearing figure with some admiration and uttered these words. Everyone's lips twitched slightly. Faint. Chapter 1362. 1362. Those who wanted to leave immediately left. Believe in Her Majesty the Queen. Since the Queen said to hand it over to young Master Wang, we don't have to worry about it. Yu Qingzi pondered for a moment and comforted all the civil officials and generals in the hall. This is not a question of whether we believe it or not. We are now in a good and bad situation with the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. Since we are staying, we will not betray the queen. We just want a guarantee. A civil official said with a bitter expression. Don't worry. Young Master Wang is extremely mysterious. Even we don't know his trump card. However, the two middle-aged men who attacked just now, one of them is at level 3 and the other is at level 2 of the Void Interpretation Realm. Since young Master Wang dares to attack, he will definitely not harm Her Majesty the Queen. Yu Qingzi swept his gaze across everyone around him and said indifferently. This caused the generals and civil officials to be slightly stunned. They thought of the two middle-aged men who had been following Wang Xian. One was at level 3 of the Void Interpretation Realm, while the other was at level 2 of the Void Interpretation Realm. To be able to have such subordinates, his influence was naturally extraordinary. Perhaps he can really save our Dragon Phoenix Empire. Everyone thought to themselves. They looked at each other and walked out. Go, take the things. Let's go. The Dragon Phoenix dynasty is finished. It's over. The Queen's friend actually killed the only life-saving straw, the people of the Dongyuan dynasty. Now, not only are we being attacked by the Star Moon dynasty, but we will also suffer the revenge of the Dongyuan dynasty. Run away from here. A group of civil officials and generals had just walked out of the palace when they suddenly heard a series of terrified voices from their surroundings. This made all of them slightly shocked, and they looked around with ugly expressions. Wei Qibing, what are you doing? The Prime Minister of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty stared coldly at the position in front of him. More than 10 horses were lined up in the middle of the road, and around them many young and middle-aged men were putting things on the road. At the front of the group, the general who had rushed out just now was riding a fierce beast. Of course, we are going to take my people and leave this place. Am I going to die here with you? When Wei Qibing heard the Prime Minister's figure, he stared at them with an ugly expression. He glanced behind him and said, Hurry up and get ready. Take everything and leave this place. You despicable and shameless person. Her Majesty, the Queen, has treated you well. How dare you do such a despicable thing? A civil official rebuked angrily. HMPH, then you mean you want me to die? Now the 3 dynasties have come to attack us. Now that we've offended the Dongyuan dynasty, what can the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty use to resist and take my life? Wei Qibing snorted coldly and looked behind him. Everyone follow me. As he spoke, he directly walked forward. Let me kill this guy and take everything away. Mang Hong's eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared coldly at Wei Qibing. We can't attack. The surrounding citizens are watching. If we attack, the hearts of the people will be in chaos. The Prime Minister quickly stopped him. The surrounding citizens were watching. If the enemy wasn't here, the dynasty would start an internal conflict. If the enemy wasn't here, the dynasty would fall apart. Are we just going to let this guy take the thing and leave? Mang Hong and a few generals had ugly expressions on their faces. The Prime Minister shook his head and looked at the terrified citizens around him. After hesitating for a moment, he entered the palace once more. What happened? Why did General Wei leave? They said that there would be 3 or 4 dynasties attacking us. General Wei actually left with his family and subordinates. Is our Dragon Phoenix dynasty really in a life-and-death situation? 3 or 4 dynasties attacking us. How are we supposed to fight? Is our dynasty going to be destroyed? When the surrounding citizens saw General Wei leave with his subordinates, their expressions changed as they discussed. The Dragon and Phoenix dynasty had sealed off the city recently, and the people already knew that there would be dynasties coming to attack them. However, what they did not know was that there would actually be 3 or 4 dynasties coming to attack them. Even the Dongyuan dynasty that was on good terms with them had turned against each other and might come to attack them. How could they defend against this? Panic spread from the bottom of everyone's hearts. Some of them widened their eyes and swallowed a mouthful of saliva as their expressions changed drastically. Everyone, don't worry. Young Master Wang has arrived. With young Master Wang and the Queen around, nothing will happen to us. Yu Qingzi heard the terrified voices of the people around him. He frowned slightly and said loudly, "There were some things that could not be hidden, and they were not prepared to hide it." "What, Lord Wang is here?" "With Lord Wang around, we are not afraid any more." "Young Master Wang? Which young Master Wang? Who is he?" Some people knew Wang Xian's name, while others didn't. But very quickly, many people had some understanding of Lord Wang and young Master Wang. However, after understanding them, they were unable to stop their panic. How strong was the young Master Wang in the past? No matter how strong he was, could he be as strong as 3 to 4 dynasties? This made many people extremely fearful. No matter how strong that young Master Wang is, he's still not a match for 3 or 4 dynasties. Run, let's run. Some people ran out in fear. Only the people of St. C Town firmly believed in Lord Wang's strength. They were willing to advance and retreat together with the Dragon Phoenix dynasty to live and die together. "Your Majesty, General Wei's departure has brought great fear to our Dragon Phoenix dynasty. It might not be long before some people want to escape. What should we do now?" The Prime Minister, who had returned to the palace, reported with an unpleasant expression. "Let those who want to leave, leave. We can take this opportunity to see who is loyal and who is disloyal. The Dragon Phoenix Empire will never accept those who leave." Feng Wan shook her head expressionlessly when she heard the Prime Minister's report. Standing on the tower of the palace, she looked at her surroundings and looked at Wang Xian, who was sipping his tea at the side. A faint smile appeared on her face. "Yes, Your Majesty. Then we will announce that whoever wants to leave will leave immediately. Those who leave will be prohibited from stepping into the territory of the Dragon Phoenix Empire in the future." The Prime Minister nodded slightly and retreated backward. The Dragon Phoenix Empire had developed so quickly. There were bound to be some people who were not loyal to the Empire. The Dragon Phoenix Empire could also use this opportunity to completely eliminate these people. Those who remained would be the most loyal subjects of the Dragon Phoenix Empire. If nothing goes wrong, the Star Moon Empire and the others will arrive soon. The strength of their 3 great empires will send at least 40 insightful emptiness realm experts. Apart from that, we also have to be on guard against the Dongyuan Empire. It is very likely that they will also send an army over. The current Dragon and Phoenix dynasty is like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. They are here to share the food with us. Feng Wan looked at Wang Xian, who was sitting leisurely by the side, and reminded him, "We will be welcoming them during this period of time. Also, send someone to monitor the imperial cities and cities of these few dynasties. Since we are going to fight, let's fight a big country war." Wang Xian looked at Feng Wan with a smile and said confidently, Chapter 1363. 1363 on the besieged city of the 1363 Three Kingdoms. All warriors get ready. All families and experts of the Dragon Phoenix Empire come to the East Gate. Do not disobey. Dong, dong, dong. In the morning of the next day, only 8 hours had passed, and an urgent voice resounded throughout the entire Dragon Phoenix Imperial City. The alert voice that could not be decided immediately shook everyone's hearts. Urgent and nervous. Are the enemies invading? So fast. They've come in just a few hours this time. Kill anyone who dares to invade our Dragon Phoenix dynasty. Kill them all. Kill them all. With Lord Wang and Her Majesty here, there's no regret in dying in battle. In just over a year, the Queen has let us live a peaceful and happy life. Anyone who dares to invade us, kill them all. Are there really 3 or 4 dynasties coming to attack us? It can't be true, right? The entire Dragon and Phoenix dynasty was in an uproar. Everyone had different expressions as they walked towards the East Gate city wall. Some people were furious and looked like they were ready to face death. Some people were terrified and their eyes were flickering as they looked around. "Your Majesty, the enemy is already 20 kilometers away from us. They are expected to arrive in 5 minutes. On the city wall of the East Gate, a general came forward to report respectfully. He looked ahead worriedly. "All right, get all the soldiers ready." Feng Wan nodded her head faintly and looked at Wang Xian, who was beside her. Wang Xian nodded his head at Feng Wan and looked ahead with a smile. "Your Majesty, our west, south, and north gates are sealed by a powerful formation. We can't get out at all. Your Majesty, there are at least 400,000 soldiers from the east rushing towards us." In less than 2 minutes, a general and a scout flew over with an awkward expression and reported again. "Continue to monitor." Feng Wan nodded her head faintly and looked at Wang Xian. "I am now at level 3 of the Void Interpretation Stage. I can fight against level 4 of the Void Interpretation Stage. The enemies who came this time are personally led by the King of the Star Moon Empire. The other 2 empires, the Wind Howl Empire, have sent an expert at level 4 of the Void Interpretation Stage. The other empire, the South Cloud Empire, is personally led by the King of level 4 of the Void Interpretation Stage. There are 3 people at level 4 of the Void Interpretation Stage. Apart from that, we also have to guard against the Dongyuan Empire. The Dongyuan Empire is even more powerful." She pursed her lips as she spoke and reminded Wang Xian. "A bunch of scum. There's no need for me to make a move at all." Wang Xian looked at Feng Wan, who still looked a little worried, and said with a smile, "You are really annoying. If you have any strength, just bring it out directly. And you're still trying to hide it." Feng Wan glared at him when she saw his pretentious manner. "Huh." Wang Xian laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha ha. Dragon and Phoenix Empire, your doomsday has arrived. Surrender obediently, and we will leave you with a complete corpse." At this moment, a carefree and even louder maniacal laughter came from the east. The voice was extremely loud and could be heard clearly within a radius of tens of kilometers. "All soldiers, get ready for battle." Mang Hong looked at the black mass of people flying in front of him. His pupils constricted slightly as he roared. Yes. All the soldiers held their weapons tightly as they stared ahead with determination. Heavens, there are so many people. Look at that flag. 3 dynasties. 3 dynasties are attacking us. The flag of the Star Moon Dynasty, the flag of the Howling Wind Dynasty, and the flag of the Southern Cloud Dynasty. There are at least 300,000 to 400,000 soldiers. Look at the experts flying in the sky, those insightful emptiness realm experts in a row. The maniacal laughter attracted the attention of everyone from the Dragon Phoenix dynasty. When they looked to the east, a powerful battle team appeared in their line of sight. Among the black mass of people, the most eye-catching ones were the more than 40 Void Interpretation experts floating in the sky. Some rode on Void Interpretation level mounts, while others stood on large swords. Each and every one of them exuded a terrifying might. Even from afar, they felt their hearts palpitate. More than 40 Void Interpretation experts. How are we going to fight them? Heavens, that old man in the middle is the King of the Star Moon Empire. Some of the citizens of the Dragon Phoenix Imperial City looked at the 3 empires that were slowly flying over with fear. Any one of these 3 empires would have a power that was even stronger than the Dragon Phoenix Empire. Now, the 3 of them were working together. How could they fight? In particular, in order to prevent the people from the Dragon and Phoenix Empire from abandoning the city and escaping, except for the East Gate, the 3 empires had secretly set up powerful formations to seal them off. There was no way to retreat. Fearless, get ready for battle. Feng Wan sensed the panic in her surroundings. She stared at the front with her cold eyes and shouted softly, Her voice entered the minds of the millions of people at the east gate of the Dragon and Phoenix Royal City. With the Queen and I around, there's no need to fear. Wang Xian also shouted softly, "No need to fear, fight." The group of generals floated above the city wall and shouted loudly, "No need to fear, fight. Fight, fight. With the Queen and Sir Wang around, we must defend our country, even if we have to die. Fight." Without Sir Wang, the 2 million of us would have died long ago. What's there to be afraid of? Our lives were given by Sir Wang, and our survival was given by Her Majesty the Queen. What's there to be afraid of? Kill. That's right. If it wasn't for Her Majesty the Queen taking us in, we would have died outside a long time ago. It wasn't easy for us to find a safe place to live. We will fight for the Queen. As Feng Wan and Wang Xian shouted softly, the frightened citizens at the back held their weapons tightly with flushed faces and shouted loudly, "Ha, fight? With your tiny dragon and Phoenix Empire." A disdainful voice came from the center of the troops at the front. In the east, the armies of the 3 empires slowly stopped about 2 kilometers in front of them. They stopped there quietly. There was no sound at all, but they gave off a strong pressure. The powerful battle teams of the empires and the powerful cavalry warriors. 2 old men in yellow robes and an old man in a python robe stood at the center. Each of their faces was filled with dignity. The Star Moon King on the left was riding a golden lion. His eyes were cold as he stared at the majestic Dragon Phoenix Imperial City. Dragon Phoenix Queen, you have occupied the territory of my Star Moon Dynasty and established your country. You have killed the experts of my Star Moon Dynasty. Today, I will raise this place to the ground. A voice filled with killing intent resounded throughout the sky. I heard that the traitor of our Wind Howl Dynasty, the Heaven's Eye Demon Beast clan, has a close relationship with you. Call them over, and we will exterminate them. On the right, the king of the Wind Howl Dynasty stood on a large green bird, and his faint voice sounded in the sky. We don't have any enmity with your Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty, but since our allies invited us, we can only come over and help exterminate you, ha. The king of the Southern Cloud Dynasty, who was in the middle, laughed loudly. He did not put the Dragon and Phoenix Dynasty in his eyes at all. Chapter 1364. 1364. Under the siege of the 3 kingdoms. 3 confident and cold voices came from the mouths of 3 4th-rank void interpretation experts. 2 of them were the kings of the dynasty. Their voices were filled with disdain and disdain. The 3 kingdoms joining forces to fight against the Dragon Phoenix dynasty did have the qualifications. You want to destroy us? Do you really think that the Dragon Phoenix dynasty is easy to bully? Feng Wan heard their arrogant words and looked at them coldly. Haha, if you can ally with the Danyuan dynasty, we'll have to consider if we want to deal with you, but now. The Star Moon King looked at the experts of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty on the city wall with a smile. Now, it won't be long before the Danyuan dynasty's army comes to destroy you. However, there's no need to wait for the Danyuan Empire to arrive. We'll destroy you all very soon, haha. He laughed loudly, and a ferocious expression slowly appeared on his face. The sudden rise of the Dragon Phoenix Empire had long caused the Star Moon Empire to be apprehensive for a long time, especially the rapid development of the Dragon Phoenix Empire in the past year, which finally caused the Star Moon Empire to be unable to sit still. In just a short year's time, this empire had increased from the initial 5 void interpretation experts to 14 to 15 now. The speed of its development was too terrifying. This caused the Star Moon Dynasty to have no choice but to ally with the Wind Howl Dynasty and the Southern Cloud Dynasty to destroy it. The Wind Howl Dynasty and the Southern Cloud Dynasty were also very concerned about the Dragon Phoenix Dynasty. After all, A sudden rise in power would definitely threaten their surroundings in the future. After the Star Moon dynasty promised some benefits, the three kingdoms allied and directly attacked. The alliance of the three countries made them not put the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty in their eyes at all. This was especially true after they heard that the Danyuan dynasty had turned against them. However, they needed to quickly destroy the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty to prevent the Danyuan dynasty from sharing the spoils of war. Star Moon dynasty soldiers, get ready. Wind Hull dynasty soldiers, get ready. Southern Cloud dynasty soldiers, get ready. Shouts immediately sounded out from their mouths. Yes, yes, yes. The 400,000 soldiers replied loudly, and their killing intent instantly condensed and shot into the sky. The sky was clear, and even the clouds were scattered. I'll give the Dragon and Phoenix Empire a final warning. Surrender immediately, and we won't kill you. However, if you don't surrender, kill all the men, and the women will become slaves. Ha! The Star Moon King laughed and announced the verdict to the Dragon Phoenix Empire. Roar! Roar! His words made the eyes of the soldiers at the back light up. They looked excited and roared like wild beasts. These damn guys! What? All the men will be killed and the women will become slaves? This. There are so many of them. How can we resist them? Sensing the killing intent and roars coming from the front, some of the citizens in Dragon Phoenix City turned extremely pale. The men were killed, and the women were turned into slaves. Just thinking about it made them feel terrified. Behind the East Gate, there was another commotion. I finally know why General Wei suddenly left yesterday. Behind them, a middle-aged man muttered in fear. General Wei's departure yesterday had caused quite a bit of panic. At that time, some people had left the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. However, there were still some people who were somewhat shaken, but they didn't leave. But now, looking at the enemy's terrifying strength and hearing the other party's judgment, their bodies trembled. Your Majesty, we are not the enemy's strength. Surrender. Suddenly, the middle-aged man spoke to Feng Wan on the city wall. The middle-aged man's words caused many people around to look over angrily, but there were also some whose eyes flickered. Oh! Feng Wan, who was standing at the back, suddenly heard a voice from behind. She frowned slightly and turned her head to look. Your Majesty, the opponent is so strong. We don't want to die, and I don't want my lover to become a slave. Another middle-aged man suddenly said, Yes, if we are really no match for the enemy, let's surrender. More and more people chimed in. Not everyone had the momentum to face death without fear. Not everyone was the citizen of Holy Sea Town who firmly believed in Lord Wang and the Queen. Believe me, the Dragon Phoenix dynasty will not be destroyed. Believe me, we will win this battle. Feng Wan turned toward the imperial city and spoke with a serious face. Her voice covered the entire imperial city and entered everyone's ears. Such a loud voice was clearly heard by the 400,000 soldiers outside. Star Moon King, Wind Hull King, and Southern Cloud King looked at each other, their faces filled with mockery. Ha! The war hasn't even started yet, and the other side is already in chaos. The Star Moon King laughed heartily. Because there are people who don't want to die and become enemies with us. Only death awaits them. I do hope that they don't surrender, hee. The Southern Cloud King said with a smile. The Dragon and Phoenix Empire has quite a few experts. If we can recruit them, it would be pretty good. The Star Moon dynasty rolled its eyes, and the corners of its mouth curled up slightly. It was full of cunningness as it muttered softly, The development of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty in this year has become our wedding dress. This is pretty good. As it spoke softly, it slowly raised its head and roared loudly. Citizens of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty, listen up. As long as you surrender, I can spare your lives and pardon your crimes. I'll give you 30 seconds to consider. After 30 seconds, attack. The Star Moon King's voice was heard within the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. What? As long as you surrender, we'll be absolved of our crimes. This surrender, I surrender. This voice caused the citizens of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire to waver once again. Some of them even shouted loudly, "Open the city gates!" Feng Wan saw some of the scenes in the city, and her expression turned cold as she spoke directly. "Oh, Queen, are we going to—" A general was slightly shocked and hurriedly asked, "Open." Feng Wan glanced at him indifferently. This general didn't dare to ask any further, and immediately opened the city gates. "Our Dragon and Phoenix dynasty will not lose this battle, nor will we lose. But if you don't believe me, go out and surrender now. Once we walk out, we will no longer be citizens of the Dragon Phoenix Empire. Do not even think about stepping into our territory." A cold voice rang out as she stood on the city wall, watching quietly. "With Lord Wang and the Queen here, we firmly believe that we will not lose. Yes, I will not leave. Even if I die, we will not leave. I believe in Her Majesty. Let's go, let's leave quickly. Get out of the way. Everyone in front, get out of the way. Don't block my way out." Some people stood there firmly, while others ran out of the city with all their might. This was a choice, to believe in the Queen or not. It's really troublesome to manage a country. The Dragon Palace is better. All the members of the Dragon Palace will submit 100%. Wang Xian looked down at the chaotic scene. He squinted his burning eyes and looked ahead as he muttered, "I can't wait any longer." Chapter 1365. 1365 Dragon Palace Battle. We surrender, we surrender. Don't kill us, we surrender. The east gate of the Dragon Phoenix Imperial City was wide open. The people who poured out of the Dragon Phoenix Imperial City shouted at the armies of the three kingdoms. Only tens of thousands of people? However, to the surprise of the Star Moon King and the others, only 40,000 to 50,000 people escaped from the Dragon Phoenix Imperial City to surrender. Although the number of people is relatively small, they are all elites. The Southern Cloud King at the side swept his gaze across the group of people who had come out to surrender, his face full of smiles. Most of these people were quite strong, and it seemed that their living conditions were not bad either. If these people were placed in a city, they would be considered elites. Feng Wan looked at the 40,000 to 50,000 people who had left and heaved a sigh of relief. Only 40,000 to 50,000 people had left in the nick of time, and she was still rather gratified. It's the Queen who gave us a safe and stable home. We're willing to fight for this home. At this moment, an old man shouted loudly with a flushed face, "We're willing to fight for this home. We're willing to fight for our home. We're willing to fight for our Queen." In the city, the citizens roared with passion. They had all come from unstable and unsafe places to the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Here they enjoyed a stable life, and their children enjoyed a good education. They did not need to be afraid, and they did not need to live in fear. This was where they truly belonged, wandering around. Why not fight for their home, even if it meant death? Even if it meant becoming slaves, they had to fight for their home. A bunch of idiots. 3 dynasties besieging and the 4th dynasty coming soon. Even the general has run away. You idiots still want to fight for your home. Just wait for death. Hee, that's why they are poor and stupid. It won't be long before they are killed and all the women become slaves. Hearing the voices behind them, the faces of those who had escaped from the Dragon Phoenix Empire turned extremely grim. They had just learned that the Dragon Phoenix Empire had a powerful formation and a good living environment. They had just established their empire and were here to settle down and earn spirit stones. Now that the Dragon Phoenix Empire was about to be destroyed, they were afraid of death and had no sense of belonging at all. Thus, they left immediately. All right, today we will fight for the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. Trust me. Feng Wan looked at the people behind her who were willing to fight for the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty. Her eyes were filled with determination as she said to Wang Xian, who was beside her, I also trust your Lord Wang. Close the city gates. Wang Xian turned around and glanced at the people behind him. These were the citizens of Feng Wan, but their faces were very cute. He ordered the soldiers at the city gates to close them. Good. A bunch of stupid things. I'll give you a chance to live, but you don't cherish it. All the Star Moon Empire soldiers, get ready. Kill. Don't hold back. Kill. Get ready to attack. Get ready to attack. The Star Moon King, the Southern Cloud King, and the Wind Hull King all gave orders at the East Gate. Kill. 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 Clang. 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 Roar. 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 The sky-shaking killing, the cold sound of weapons, and the roar of mounts all sounded at the same time. The wind and clouds changed, and war broke out. All the soldiers of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasty welcomed the battle. Feng Wan said coldly, Fight, I'm invincible. The soldiers roared. Charge! The three void interpretation experts stood in the air and roared. On both sides, the military flags of the three empires were waved. Charge! 400,000 soldiers attacked directly from 2 kilometers away. It's up to you. Feng Wan looked at the army charging over, looked at Wang Xian and said. Wang Xian smiled confidently and raised his arm slowly. All citizens of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire, float in the sky and take a good look at this battle. All of you will be proud of the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. You will be proud of your choices. In the future, all of you will be the best. A powerful and confident voice covered the entire Dragon and Phoenix Empire. This stunned the more than 10 million people in the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Young Master Wang, are you going to show your trump card? The civil officials and generals around Wang Xian looked at him with flickering eyes. A strong sense of hope was revealed in their eyes. With Sir Wang around, we are invincible. We believe in Sir Wang. Fly into the sky. When the citizens of Shanghai town heard Wang Xian's words, they flew into the sky in excitement. He actually wants us to watch the battle. What ability does this Lord Wang have? The eyes of the rest of the citizens flickered as they looked at the confident and arrogant figure. Anyone who had reached the transcendence level would fly into the sky. When they had just flown up, they saw an army of 400,000 charging over and 40 insightful void martial artists lined up neatly in the sky. Their faces turned pale and their bodies trembled. Can we win? Everyone from the Dragon Phoenix Empire gulped, clenching their fists tightly. The Dragon Phoenix Empire is finished? Defend. What can we use to defend? Luckily we came out, otherwise it would be over. Outside, the citizens who had surrendered from the Dragon Phoenix Empire looked at the terrifying army, saying, With a single charge we will break through the city. The 3 fourth-level, profound, void, martial stage powerhouses were floating in the air above the 400,000-strong army. They stared at the front with awe-inspiring eyes and said confidently, Disciples of the Dragon Palace, destroy them. Leave no one alive. Wang Xian sensed the tens of millions of people from the Dragon and Phoenix Empire floating in the sky behind him and smiled. He looked ahead. When the 400,000-strong army arrived more than 1,000 meters in front of him, he let out a soft shout. Roar! Roar! Heaven's Eye, Wind Dragon Illusion Arrow. The moment Wang Xian's voice fell, roars and cold voices rang out in the surrounding area. A power that was as wild as the wilderness charged directly from the front and the left and right. The terrifying whistling sound caused the hearts of the 400,000-strong army to tremble. This whistling sound was accompanied by the majesty of a divine dragon. The expressions of the Star Moon King, Southern Cloud King, and Wind Howl King changed slightly as they hurriedly looked around. Just from the sound, they knew that the owner of the sound was extraordinary. What fast arrows blocked them? However, they suddenly saw arrows that were like wind dragons attacking them. The three of them changed their expressions slightly and said hurriedly, "Eh." The expressions of the other nearly 40 insightful emptiness realm experts shot out icy cold expressions as they directly blocked the arrows. Not good. The power of that arrow is so terrifying. However, at this moment, the expression of an insightful emptiness realm's second stage expert changed drastically as he looked at the flowing light-like wind dragon illusory arrow in horror. Roar! The wind dragon arrow rushed to the front of the 400,000-strong army as it let out a roar. This was Mao Zedong's aspect arrow. Roar, boom! The terrifying attack landed in the midst of the Wind Howl Empire's army, instantly killing 30,000 to 40,000 soldiers. "Brothers, leave the Wind Howl Empire to us kill." A cold voice sounded out in the sky. Chapter 1366. 1366 killed until blood flowed like a river. "Brothers, leave the Howling Wind dynasty to us. Kill." A cold voice resounded in the sky above the east gate of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty. At the back of the 400,000-strong army, for 100 heavens, demonic beasts, led by Mao Zedong, flew over with cold faces. Around them were dolphins of various colors and colorful vipers. On the left and right sides of the 400,000-strong army, 9 flood dragons that were 30 meters long swayed their huge bodies as they stared coldly at everyone from the 3 dynasties. Behind the flood dragons, there were demon monkeys that were 5 to 6 meters in size and lightning prawns that were 3 to 4 meters in size. Their bodies emitted a violent aura as they charged over. Along with the creatures at the back, there were only about 3,000 people. However, these 3,000 people caused the 400,000-strong army to stop. This was especially so for everyone from the Howling Wind dynasty. They were completely stunned by Mao Zedong's attack. He, who was comparable to a rank 4 void interpretation expert, landed in the middle of the 400,000-strong army with his full strength. That terrifying attack instantly killed 30,000 to 40,000 people. Even a half-step void interpretation general was instantly killed. All right, leave the Star Moon Dynasty army to the Demon Combat Division. Leave the Southern Cloud Dynasty army to the Thunder Division. Ao Chi-Tien held the ocean pacifying needle in his hand. Ao Chi held the lightning spear in one hand and the lightning hammer in the other. The two of them led their subordinates and responded to Mao Zedong. Kill! 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 Immediately after, they did not stop. Mao Zedong roared and glared at everyone from the Howling Wind dynasty with hatred. Then he pulled the bowstring again. "Today we, the Wind-Eye Demon Beasts, will take revenge for what we did to you. We will exterminate you and your Wind Howl dynasty. From now on, there will be no Wind-Eye Demon Beasts. Only the Heavenly Eye Arrow Division of the Dragon Palace." His cold gaze locked onto the Duke of the Phoenix Eye dynasty. His cold aura caused everyone's expression to change slightly. What? The leader of the Wind-Eye Demon Beasts is a rank 4 void interpretation expert. Other than the leader of the Wind-Eyed Demon Beast, the 9 huge demon beasts and the other 2 demon beast leaders are all 3rd-level void interpretation experts. When the 3 dynasties saw the powerful creatures that suddenly appeared behind them and on both sides, their expressions changed drastically. Especially the Duke of the Wind Howl dynasty, when he saw the 30,000 to 40,000 warriors that were killed in an instant, his heart bled. He stared at the leader of the Wind-Eye clan with bloodshot eyes and clenched his fists tightly. How is this possible? Mao Zedong, your Wind-Eye clan clearly only has a level 2 profound void bloodline. Your current strength. He stared fixedly at Mao Zedong. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, what greeted him was the densely packed arrows of the Wind-Eye clan. Roar! On both sides, the demon monkeys and thunder shrimps roared. Monstrous, demonic chi and violent lightning were only 500 or 600 meters away from the 400,000-strong army. More than 3,000 people against 400,000 people, a difference of more than 100 times. However, no one from the Dragon Palace was afraid at all. Buzz! Heavenly Wind Shield. Seeing the arrows from the Wind-Eyed Demon Beast clan flying toward the army of the Wind-Howl Dynasty again, the Lord of the Wind-Howl Dynasty waved his arm. A staff appeared in his hand, and in an instant it was as if a curtain of sky had appeared. The green curtain of sky blocked all the arrows. Wind-Eyed Demon Beast traders, you are courting death. Today, I will definitely exterminate you. As he spoke, his body moved and directly attacked Mao Zedong, who was behind him. Kill them. There is only a 4th-level, profound, void martial artist, and over 3,000 beasts. You are courting death. You think you can help the Dragon Phoenix dynasty? Kill them all. The Star Moon King's expression changed drastically when he saw this scene. Flames surged from his body as he stared at the 9 flood dragons. No one can save you today. The Southern Cloud King's expression changed slightly, but soon a 3-meter-long great sword appeared in his hand. The great sword emitted a dazzling golden light. Roar! 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 The 9 flood dragons hovered in the sky, staring at all the profound void martial artists from the 3 empires from afar. Is this Lord Wang's power? It seems like he killed 30,000 to 40,000 enemies in one move. Those 9 30-plus long creatures are so huge and terrifying. Oh my God, are we saved? Haha, I believe that Lord Wang can protect us. I have always believed it. In the Dragon Phoenix Royal City, the people floating in the sky looked excited when they saw the powerful members of the Dragon Palace descending like divine might. Their bodies trembled as they clenched their fists tightly. So strong, so strong. Even though there are only 3,000 creatures, the aura they released is not weaker than the 400,000-strong army. The Dragon Phoenix Empire's insightful Void Realm expert's eyes shot out an excited light as he muttered, "All the soldiers of the Dragon Phoenix Empire, listen up. We cannot let our comrades fight outside. We, the Dragon Phoenix Sons, must show our strength and kill." Feng Wan moved her arm, and a blazing phoenix staff appeared. A clear and cold voice rang out, pointing directly at the battlefield. "Kill! Follow me and kill!" Mang Hong was the first to rush out, and he roared loudly. Following closely behind, the Dragon Phoenix Empire's more than 10 void interpretation experts immediately followed closely behind. "Die for me!" The Star Moon King saw the Dragon Phoenix Empire's experts and soldiers rush out, and his expression changed slightly. He waved the staff in his hand, and meteors appeared out of thin air. Each meteor was about 10 meters in size, and they attacked the Dragon Phoenix Empire's insightful emptiness realm experts. Fire elves. When Feng Wan saw the Star Moon King attack, she waved the phoenix scepter in her hand, and one after another, fairy-like flames attacked the meteors. Boom! 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 The meteors exploded and instantly dissipated. Feng Wan's body slowly floated up, and her gaze locked onto the Star Moon King. "If you dare to invade our Dragon Phoenix Empire, I will kill you today." A fire phoenix slowly appeared between her brows as a 1-meter-long fire phoenix slowly rotated around her body. At this moment, the Dragon Phoenix Queen seemed to have a phoenix goddess descending. The Star Moon King's aura was locked onto by Feng Wan as his expression changed slightly. "I said I will destroy your Dragon Phoenix Empire. Today, you will definitely be destroyed." He growled in a low voice, and a sun-like ball appeared above his head. They were facing each other from afar. TSK? Okay, if that's the case, let me warm up too. Wang Xian saw that two fourth-level insightful void martial artists were locked onto, as well as the king of Southern Cloud. He floated in the air indifferently and looked at the king of Southern Cloud with an indifferent gaze. This time, he was not prepared to let the strange demon clan make a move. He had to hide the fact that the strange demon was the dragon Spike for a while. Moreover, he only used a little bit of his strength when he was in his human form. However, that was enough. Boom! Chapter 1367. 1360. Seven blood flowed like a river. Boom! King of Southern Cloud, let me play with you. Hovering above the city wall, a faint smile appeared on Wang Xian's face. His voice was transmitted directly into the ears of the King of Southern Cloud, whose expression was constantly changing. He opened his mouth slightly, and the 5 elements grinding mill slowly appeared above his head. Gradually, it became a radius of 1,000 meters. Fourth level of the void interpretation. Sensing the threat from Wang Xian, the King of Southern Cloud looked a little embarrassed. He agreed to attack the Dragon and Phoenix Empire. Initially, he thought that the Dragon and Phoenix Empire was a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. He did not need to expend much energy to take them down. However, he did not expect that 2 terrifying powerhouses at the 4th level of the void interpretation would suddenly appear. Furthermore, there were more than 3,000 terrifying creatures. This time, the strength that they brought along was only 7 people at the 3rd level of the void interpretation realm. Initially, he thought that 7 people at the 3rd level of the void interpretation realm was considered too many. However, there were 9 terrifying creatures at the 3rd level of the void interpretation realm. This gave the King of Southern Cloud a bad premonition. Today, your 400,000-strong army shall stay here. Wang Xian was floating above the city. He did not rush out. After he finished speaking, he waved his arm and the 5 elements millstone directly attacked the King of Southern Cloud. Are you courting death? You want to leave us here? You don't have the ability to do so. The King of Southern Cloud held the golden greatsword in his hand and raised both of his hands. He attacked the 5 elements millstone directly. 1,000-meter-long golden sword ray seemed to have opened up the world as it slashed towards the 5 elements millstone. The terrifying golden sword ray vowed to split the 5 elements millstone into 2. 1. However, the 5 elements millstone slowly rotated and a flame burned towards the sword light. The 5 elements rotated and fire countered metal. The sword light dissipated before it reached the front of the 5 elements millstone. However, the 5 elements millstone rotated again, and a destructive energy covered the Southern Cloud King. What? The Southern Cloud King was shocked and stared at the 5 elements millstone in disbelief. This was an attack released by that young man, but the opponent's figure had yet to get close. Sword without trace break. Seeing the gray energy attack, the Southern Cloud King's face was filled with golden light as his body emitted a resplendent radiance. His entire figure became 100 meters in size as he slashed towards the gray energy. Boom! The terrifying collision sounded again. The collision of the 2 powerful energies released a powerful airwave. Ah! 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 The miserable shrieks sounded from the surroundings. The Southern Cloud King's expression changed drastically. He looked at his subordinates around him and took a deep breath. He stared at the 5 elements millstone and said, "I'm going to break you." His body moved and he flew thousands of meters into the sky. He stared at the 5 divine dragons on the 5 elements millstone, and a bright light flashed in his eyes. Golden rain descend. He roared, and numerous golden needles appeared behind him. Each needle was about a meter long. The golden needles gathered together and attacked the 5 divine dragons on the 5 elements millstone. The 5 elements millstone spun, and the fire divine dragon faced the golden needles, emitting fireballs. Once again, the Southern Cloud King's attack was blocked by the five elements millstone. My God, Lord Wang is so strong. He can easily fight against the Southern Cloud King with just a magical treasure. He's too powerful. Haha, Lord Wang is invincible. Look over there. Our queen is not at a disadvantage in the battle with the Star Moon King. She's even able to move with ease. That fourth level, insightful emptiness realm expert from the Howling Wind Dynasty was also blocked by Lord Heaven's Demon Beast. Haha. Look at the battle below. Lord Wang's subordinates are so strong. Those 9 gigantic creatures have already killed 2 insightful emptiness realm experts. Oh my God, the 400,000 strong army below is being massacred. In the Dragon Phoenix Royal City, when all the citizens saw Wang Xian floating in the sky calmly and controlling a treasure to fight against the King of Southern Cloud Kingdom with ease, they almost knelt down and worshipped him. This was simply too awesome. In other locations, their queen, the leader of the heavens' demonic beast, was suppressing the powerhouses of the Star Moon King and the Howling Wind Dynasty. Not to mention the other places where the 9 flood dragons were wreaking havoc and the demon monkey thunder prawns were massacring crazily. This is our dynasty, our queen, our king. The people who had been following the Dragon Phoenix dynasty since its establishment were so excited that tears welled up in their eyes. If they didn't give up on this dynasty, the dynasty wouldn't give up on them either. Kill ruthlessly, ha ha ha. On the battlefield, all the generals of the Dragon Phoenix dynasty had excited expressions on their faces. They felt that their bodies were filled with endless fighting spirit. With the appearance of Lord King's subordinates from the Dragon Palace, those powerful creatures were able to suppress the 400,000 strong army. They could even follow behind and attack. For 100,000 soldiers, the elites of the 3 dynasties, how many half-step void interpretation experts could there be? 100 was more than enough, right? However, the group of creatures from the Dragon Palace had at least 1,000 half-step void interpretation experts. If you wanted to kill these 900 half-step void interpretation experts, you had to bring out 3,000 to 4,000 transcendent level rank 9 experts. Were there 3,000 to 4,000 transcendent level rank 9 experts in the 400,000 strong army? Obviously not. Not to mention the lowest rank 9 transcendents from the other factions. The Dragon Phoenix dynasty soldiers were filled with excitement. The battle has only just begun. However, at this moment, at the rear of the Heavenly Eye Arrow, the only void interpretation expert of the Dolphin clan muttered, "Wang." A special sound wave directly covered the entire battlefield. Streams of water condensed in the sky. The black clouds slowly condensed, and some poisonous snakes at the back stuck out their tongues. Their mouths moved slightly, and the pitch-black liquid directly entered the dark clouds in the sky. Blue raindrops and black raindrops covered the entire battlefield. Roar, roar! When the sound wave's assistants entered the entire battlefield, the demon monkey and the thunder shrimp let out an excited roar. Their minds were clear, and their bodies were filled with power. With the dolphin support, they could increase their combat power by at least 30%. One should not underestimate a small 30%. This 30% could turn the tide of the battle. Moreover, when the sound waves entered the ears of the 400,000 soldiers, they were stunned. They had been feeling that an invisible energy was disturbing their thoughts, and their combat power was greatly reduced. Why do I feel that my body is filled with power and my mind is much clearer? A Dragon and Phoenix dynasty soldier suddenly felt the change in his body, and his face was filled with excitement as he shouted loudly, "Me too, it's that special sound wave. This must be Lord Wang's special talent. Haha, it's simply too strong, kill, kill, kill." Another soldier shouted excitedly, "Crash!" At this moment, raindrops fell from the sky. Black raindrops fell on the soldiers of the three dynasties. Blue raindrops fell on the members of the Dragon Palace and the soldiers of the Dragon and Phoenix dynasties. The slaughter had just begun. Blood started to gather.